and junking it up in the middle. So we're trying to go around the outside, and it didn't work.
The teams are now both 1-1 on the season.
It's time. You know what time it is? The game for Tuscaloosa's longest-running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best. Always is to win a national championship.
Something cool to look back on.
We don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. And now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
And a big good afternoon to you. Welcome into the game. T-Town Tide at 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We are the home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports. We're the flagship home of Alabama Crimson Tide football as well as Alabama basketball, all the coaches' shows. It is a Tuesday as we get ready for the Georgia Bulldogs. But, hey, the biggest game when you talk about for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be all about the Georgia Bulldogs and the University of Alabama. We'll ask you today about your confidence. Does it feel any better? We'll also go back to Wisconsin game. We've got tons of Kalen DeBoer audio. We've got a big show lined up for you. We'll talk with Mike Detillier, WWL, the big 870. We'll talk with him coming up in about 10 minutes. We'll have a chance to also reflect on Kalen DeBoer audio, but I want to start today going back for just a couple of minutes. I've been in radio. This will be my 24th year in Tuscaloosa. I started in 2000. Mike DeBose was the head football coach. He got fired. We're going 3-8, and I never looked back, right? Never looked back. Doing radio, not full-time. That was part-time. Really got in the business part-time. Nick Saban arrived, and here goes Ryan's full-time career talking about Alabama football. I mean, it's a thing that I want to thank you for, because as many remotes as I have done, and I love to go out and meet people, and you walk up and people say, because when you're behind the mic, you talk to people, but you don't ever see people. When you have a chance to go out and support the community, to go out and be behind a couple of football players by the name of Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams, you guys showed up and showed out. What an event. What an event. We appreciate T-Mobile. I was sitting around after the event talking to Ryan Williams for a couple of minutes and I did have a couple of minutes with Jalen Milroe, but maybe more with Ryan Williams. But talking about how you guys kind of just showed up and showed out. Was also talking with a T-Mobile executive, the guy that's in charge of this state as well as many other states, and he was sharing with me that what an event. So I want to thank you for coming out. And let me also kind of set this up. They had pretty much allotted 1 hour that T-Mobile had brought in, the official partner of the SEC, to bring in for 1 hour, right? 5:30 until 6:30 is when the autograph session was. Those players stayed another 45 minutes. So they did not only just the hour allotment, but they decided to stay another 45 minutes. They could have signed at 4 a.m. in the morning. That's how many people that were at this event. Wyatt was there. It was literally wrapped around the building, down the building. And I know that we definitely appreciate T-Mobile for allowing us to be a part of. It was pretty awesome right there, but a beautiful store. And the first time I'd ever been in there. So I know a lot of people came by, said hello. But we say thank you. I know our station as well as our sister station, 95.3 The Bear. But a big thank you to guys. And also thanks to T-Mobile because they were great hospitality. I mean, they kept bringing me water. They kept, hey, you need this. And some great giveaways as well for the first 200 people that came through the door. Got one of those neck fans that cooled you down, and certainly that'll be very beneficial as you travel inside Bryant-Denny Stadium for some of these big hot games. But we're going to be talking today with Mike Detillier. We've also got Tony Franklin, former coach. We're going to talk about the offensive direction and how much more of this offense is left. But so far, what does he see with the way that Kalen DeBoer has incorporated his offensive identity into this offense? We'll talk with him coming up at 3:30. We'll share some thoughts, and we'll live through a lot of different things. We'll live through great audio clips, and we'll take phone calls. But I want to spend a little bit more time on Wisconsin, but also I want to turn ahead. When you look at this Georgia game, you feel better? You feel better? You have to. If I'd have taken a survey last Tuesday and said, do you feel better about Georgia than you do right now, than you do after a weekend? And maybe it was that looking at Georgia going, hey, they're beatable. They have a kryptonite. The kryptonite is that Script A. It's that Alabama brand. It's that mobile quarterback. That's always been a thorn in our side because we run the same defense. But if you look at a 3-4 defense, why is that? Maybe that would be a question for Tony Franklin. When you look at a 3-4, is there a mismatch there? As Nick Saban always used to say, there's money to be made. There's money to be made when you think about it. So we'll dive into it. I had a great lunch today. Some great things that we're going to be doing coming days. I'll make that announcement a little bit later, but it was always fun to be able to visit with many of you yesterday at T-Mobile. Thank you. And I think we estimated somewhere around 1,500 people. It may have been more because it literally went down the block, down, around, turned, went back towards 15th Street, lined up for literally 2.5, 3 blocks. So pretty awesome to see the Alabama fans. And like I said, appreciate it. I gave you a fair warning now. I did. As the line kept growing, I kept announcing, you better get here. You better get here. You better get here. Like I said, they gave extra 45 minutes. So, hey, they got practice to do and a lot of things. But like I said, they could have signed at 4 a.m. in the morning. But great ambassadors for the University of Alabama. Think about Ryan Williams for a couple of minutes. A young man who comes in, should still be in high school, and now he's out here doing T-Mobile autograph signings. And the way he handled it, he didn't act like a 17-year-old kid. 17-year-old, I don't know where 17-year-old Ryan Fowler would have been, but I can promise you it wouldn't have been acting the way he is. I mean, he handles himself like a senior at the University of Alabama, an NFL rookie. I mean, he does it, the mannerisms, the way that he carries himself, the way that he represents that Script A, and that will only do more for the brand of the University of Alabama. Let's start with Kalen DeBoer audio talking about the bye week and some of the goals of this bye week. Kalen DeBoer met with members of the media yesterday, and here's how he responded when we talked about the bye week and some of the goals leading into this bye week.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good because I think every bye week is a little different. Early bye weeks, again, there has been 7 weeks of football that these guys have been kind of going as far as hitting each other, but it is early in the season still. For us, we'll take a few of the days here, like I said, just to let the coaching staff start working ahead on the schematics, game plan. There's obviously some recruiting. There's other parts of the program where the coaches focus their attention as well. But then from a player standpoint, just trying to get them, a little bit of a mental break here for a second. It's only a couple days, but let them be students here for a few days as well, just not just the athletic part. So, later on, you kind of adapt, even not just when you practice, but how long you practice. But we'll have some really good solid practices here at the latter part of the week, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Gives us a jump on the next game with Georgia.
And I will tell you that this bye week has come probably at one of the best times because of the 7 weeks consecutive. We see 3 weeks and we're going, okay, they've only been doing 3 weeks. Well, they started fall camp late in July, worked there all the way through. They did have a couple of days off, but when you look at the grind now, they were able to give their players off Sunday, Monday, which is a normal day off, today, and also partial tomorrow. They'll be back on the practice field on Thursday and Friday and get ready for this upcoming Georgia week. But it's a week to get healthy. It's a week to still do some mental reps. And as he said, get caught up on some of the schoolwork. And if you don't need to get caught up, work ahead. How many of you guys worked ahead in schoolwork? Raise your hand, please. Were you guys professional procrastinators too? Yeah, me too. Hey, the project's due next week. Why work on it this week, huh? Anyway, I'm sure they're probably much better than I am. But procrastinator, number one, I was a professional at it. So we'll talk to Mike Detillier. We'll break down Alabama. We'll also look ahead to the SEC, and we'll ask him, when you look at the Alabama-Georgia game, what does he see? So we'll take your phone calls. We are always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyline Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com, the great dealership. How about a Tundra? How about a Tacoma, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive? You've got 1.99 APR for $36,000 and a $2,000 loyalty cash on the Tundra. You can find a 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive options. You can see all of that inventory online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. We're going to Mike to... Mike Detillier, WWL, the Big 870. Mike Detillier, WWL, the Big 870. Mike Detillier, welcome back to the game. I hope all is well.
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Ryan.
Mike, I want to talk about a lot of different things, but I want to start in the NFL. Bryce Young over in Carolina. Your reaction to this young man and that organization?
Man, could he pick a worse one to get picked by? You got a very impetuous owner here who has not really done the franchise a lot of good. Not kidding, he's worth $22 billion, so who's going to tell him different? But what was so funny about this was Sunday after the game, Dave Canales, the head coach, says, Bryce Young is our quarterback and will be our starting quarterback. In less than 24 hours, it wasn't to be. We know exactly where that's coming from. Coming from the owner. The same guy. He wanted Bryce. Bryce was his guy. And now I think just because of the pieces around him, it has come apart. And you lose confidence. I work with a lot of former NFL quarterbacks, and they all tell you the same thing. Man, I'm only as good as the pieces around me. And if that's not there, then I got troubles. But I'm going to get the blame, no matter what. So this didn't surprise me one bit. We talked about it last week that, as much as David Tepper was a Bryce Young fan, and I think the key influence in that organization to pick Bryce over C.J. Stroud, I think he's also the guy that would have the quick hook. And I think that's exactly what happened. Bryce Young can play. We've all seen that before. But he's overwhelmed right now. And you can see it in his body language and Bryce has always been a very soft-spoken guy. He's not one of a loud guy in the locker room or outside the locker room to begin with. But, man, you gotta help him a little bit. You gotta help him. And I go back, we did a pickleball tournament at the Mario Center here in New Orleans. Drew Brees was there. Drew was playing. Drew's playing left-handed because he can't pick his right arm up very high anymore. That's part of the casualties of playing in the NFL. He can't hardly lift his right arm up very high, so he plays left-handed. I was asking him about Bryce, and he was like, Mike, I just hope they don't get him hurt. But he's got nothing around him. He really doesn't. And what happened with C.J. Stroud was an anomaly in this league. Look the problems Caleb Williams had in week one, in the second week. Also, Bo Nix going through the growing pains in Denver. Jaden, he's had his ups and downs, but one thing with Jaden, man, as thin as he is, that little sucker, he is tough. And he'll just take off running and he'll make some plays. But he's going through it also. But you get kind of mixed in that until the day they both are retired, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young are connected by the hip because of where they went and the early success of C.J. Stroud, which in this league rarely happens for a rookie quarterback. Rare. So it doesn't surprise me. And I get it. Canales is saying, I'm the one. Yeah, you're the one after the owner, the guy that cuts the check, tells you what to do. Bottom line. So, he's going through what a lot of quarterbacks have went through. But most of them at least got some pieces of the puzzle around him. He doesn't have much of anything. And what he's got is real young talent that's going in the early stages of the NFL also. So, man, it's tough. I hate to see Bryce go through that. I know Archie Manning and we had talked a lot about Bryce at Manning camp, and, and he thought the world of Bryce. But he's like, Mike, I just hope he doesn't get hurt because of not having all the pieces. So they're going to play the veteran Andy Dalton. And I got to know Andy really well when he was here in New Orleans, the Red Rifle. One thing with Andy is He said, I've learned through my years. You hope for protection, but I tell my right arm, get ready, sling it fast. So, and he would always laugh about it, that he said, hey, we joking, but it's reality. That if you don't get protection in this league, you're in deep trouble. And you see Bryce on the run. I mean, and he's lost his confidence, Brian. I think you see it.
Well, and you see so many quarterbacks that leave that franchise, and then they develop into solid, productive players in the NFL. So it's the franchise. And, I always sum it up this way. The owner of the Carolina Panthers is the same idiot that threw the beer in the guy's face. I mean, when's the last time Jerry Jones, I'm a Dallas Cowboy guy, and I'm not even going to bring it up because the Saints spanked us out in Dallas. But, Jerry, as crazy as he is, he wouldn't throw a beer in somebody's face. But that's the Carolina owner where Bryce Young is having to navigate this. It just kind of understands his maturity level.
Okay, think about this. There's a restaurant with a sign about, I hope the owner lets the general manager and the head coach do the picking instead of him.
Great
come
point.
draft time.
Great.
And he goes in and starts raising hell with the owner.
He did. Yeah.
Okay, Ryan, when has that happened in this league? I mean, in today's world of social media, nobody's doing that kind of craziness. Now, you're right about Jerry. Jerry wants to run things his own way. He's got a certain amount of craziness, but he ain't that crazy. But when you worth that kind of money, and I've sort of been around people with great wealth. Some of them handle it very, very well. You wouldn't know if they had $1 billion or so dollars or if they had $100. And some of them, totally different. That money changed them tremendously. It changed them, changed their life, and so they act a certain way. They feel as though, hey, I can get away with it. I'm worth this kind of money. The other part about it, too, and I got told this by a guy who owns a major company here, and then he's worth a couple $1 billion. And he made the comment to me that success has you thinking you can do it differently. No matter where you're at, you can win, and you can have success in every business. And he said, I found out I got into a new line of business, and it wasn't as quick a success as I had made it in some of the other businesses. And he said, I lost my patience. He said, I came to a reality check. It wasn't going to be that way. For David Tepper, it's not that way. I think he made his money a certain way. He made it fast, and he thinks he can win in the NFL fast. That's not always the case. And so you're going through it, and he goes through coach after coach after coach, changing players constantly. And it reminds me a lot of the early days of the Saints franchise when John Mecum Jr. owned it. When John took over the original Saints, he was 27 years old. His dad actually kind of bought the team for him. And I think the dad bought the team so he didn't have to deal with him. He gave him something else to do. They got some guys on the bayou like that. The dads, they pay them to stay away from work. That's a good job when they pay you and you don't have to come to work. But I think with Mecum Jr. was very similar. And who had his ear? And he was very impatient, and he would make decisions based off of really not sports reality, but maybe things he had saw in his dad's all-field business. The dad was a genius, really a genius. Mecum Jr. didn't have that gene in him. He was certainly no genius as far as football-wise. The Saints never had a winning season in the 20 years that he owned the franchise. It's remarkable to say, but it's true. So you're seeing it happen in Carolina with Tepper, and Jake Delhomme, who does the color analyst for the Panthers, and old buddy from Southwest Louisiana, he made the comment, they are in the early stages of building. And he also expressed great concern about Bryce, that, you get picked with the first overall pick, you're not going to a Super Bowl winning team.
Mike, I want to ask you about Alabama and Wisconsin. Any thoughts about this game? You went on the road in Madison, Wisconsin. They opened up a really big can of whip butt on the Badgers and I'm not trying to make Wisconsin out to the Super Bowl national champs. They're not going to win the Big Ten, but you go on the road in the Big Ten and you go there and do what you're supposed to do. Any takeaways from Alabama's performance in Madison?
Well, one thing I know with Wisconsin, you look at the size of that football team, they're a very big physical team, and Alabama whipped them up front. And then they unleashed the athletic talent that, okay, Wisconsin doesn't have that type of talent athletically. And again, you saw, what we've talked about with Jalen Milroe, that he's got that talent, man. He is extremely gifted. He works his butt off, and I think it has all started to sink in real well of what Kalen DeBoer wants to do offensively. And, if they can get the offensive line straight, the right combination, it's always about 5 guys working as one. They are going to be really, really difficult. And I'll be honest with you, Ryan, early on, I think the big surprise for me is how well their defense has played. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know, and I don't think anybody else did, how this would look defensively for Alabama. And, okay, you still got a lot of young kids in the secondary that is going to go through some tests, but their front seven has really played well. Very, very well. So, certainly impressed with Milroe. They got athleticism at the wide receiver position. If they get straight up front along the offensive line, I think they can run up a lot of points on you. But I think, for me, the biggest surprise, how well they played front seven. Because I don't think any of us really, really knew how that would turn out. So far, it's not only met expectations, as far as I'm concerned, it's exceeded it. From what you were looking at maybe before the season started. You talk about talent, but there's a change scheme-wise, talent-wise, that sort of thing. And it's a sort of a little bit different look. But, man, they got dudes that can play on the defensive side of football. We'll find out a lot more about the secondary a little later in the year.
Mike, I want to ask you about Jalen Milroe. How have you seen him take that next step? Because, Mike, you've been a high on Jalen Milroe for as long as we've been talking to him. I've heard the comparisons even when some of the praise was not there. You were one of those guys. But there's probably so much more to this offense, but we've seen him take a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, and the thing with him is I see it as it's more of his mechanics and his ability to set his feet and see the field better. That takes a little bit of time. I get it, and I'm sure you get it too. Oh, football is football. You never played past junior high school or high school if you say that. Football's just not football. Okay, if you played high school football, man, college football is at another level speed-wise. And it's coming at you faster, and you got a quicker read faster. I think he's become much more comfortable in that quarterback position of what he sees downfield. And sometimes maybe a bit of an illusion. That's a Drew Brees comment, but Drew would talk about it all the time, that it's almost like ghosts. You think you see something, and then somebody closes in real fast, and what you saw was a bit of an illusion for just that moment. I see that improvement with Jalen and the fact that I think he's much more confident today. He's much more mechanically sound, and he sees the entire field better than what he did a year ago at this time. You see the progress in him. He's always going to be gifted as a runner. God gave him those gifts that he can really scare you. But it was the passing part and picking out the right guy to go to and a more quicker progression. I see that with Milroe. And I think everybody else does. I talked to an NFL scout just yesterday as I was going to Mississippi, and he brought that out to me. Man, come on. You'd have to be blind not to see his progress as a player, because he actually was at the game when Alabama played Wisconsin, and he said, it was really no contest, start to finish. That's how more speed, athleticism Alabama had. And he said, you can tell they're a well-coached team on the offensive side of football.
Mike, I want to ask you about LSU. South Carolina probably should have won that game, but you got to credit the fight of the Tigers. I mean, they played South Carolina up there, and South Carolina looks like maybe a little bit more respectable football team than maybe what we thought, in week one when they were playing Old Dominion. But LSU, kind of analyze where they're at and where do you think they're going?
I agree with you. South Carolina should have won that football game. You spot somebody 17 points. I mean, on the road, and it was a raucous crowd there. And they fought, man, and I give them credit. They fought hard and got back in the game, ended up winning it. Offensive line play. And I think South Carolina's strength is that ability to get pressure on the quarterback. They really influenced Garrett Nussmeier much more in that game than any game we've seen so far this year. Now, Nichols is one thing, but USC didn't put the pressure on Garrett like what South Carolina did. And they can run the football. I mean, we've seen a lot of Rocket Sanders when he was at Arkansas. He's a good back. And so, again, though, LSU's offensive line can't move people at the point of attack, which is shocking to me. I think the biggest surprise that they have not been able to gather a running game, much of it. Defensively, I knew they had holes, but they're giving up all these chunk plays, Ryan. You're not going to be able to hold up against an Ole Miss or an Alabama or even an Oklahoma if that continues for this football team. But, hey, listen, they hung in there and found a way to win. And I do know one thing, Garrett Nussmeier, he's carrying the same 2 heavy buckets of water Jaden Daniels did a year ago. Now, it looks different, but the buckets are still full.
Mike, where do you think this football team ends up? Do you think this is somehow they can correct some of the mistakes and maybe get to a playoff, or do you think 9 wins and leaving it out of the play? Where do you think they're going?
Okay, me and Matt Moscona agree on this. We thought this was a 9-win team. And I thought they would slip up somewhere along the lines early on and lose to Ole Miss and Alabama. That would be the 3 losses. But, Ryan, I'm not real sure. If they don't play any better than what they're playing, they're not going to get to 9. It's going to be dramatic improvement on this football team. And then it's 3 years into Brian Kelly, and it's the same screw-ups on special teams we saw in year 1. You had a block punt. You had a deep snapper. He rolled one to the holder. And people say, well, it was a block kick. A block kick. It never got to the kick. Never got to the holder good. So, Ryan, they got issues there. And, yeah, I mean, UCLA, they are who they are, and South Alabama. And then you play Ole Miss in a big game. And so, if they don't get their defense straight, Ryan, they in trouble against Ole Miss. If you can't affect Jackson Dart, you got problems. You got major problems because Ole Miss can hit you so many different ways. And Ole Miss is better on defense than they were a year ago. And no doubt about it. They got more talent, and they're a better football team defensively than they were a year ago. So LSU right now, they trailing some water out the boat. They got a leak. Can Brian patch it up? I don't know. But my thought that they would be a 9-win team, and they may still get there. But Ryan, it's going to be a difficult haul for them so far this year. It's not been very impressive at all in year 3, and in a year that Brian sort of pointed to that this would be the year. This would be the year. And, and they got some of them, he didn't inherit much. Well, okay. Lincoln Riley didn't inherit much either at USC. Anytime you inherit a program, they got people coming and going. but that's for every program, especially when a coach leaves. This is on Brian Kelly today. This is his team. 3 years since they fired Coach O. And I don't see a marked improvement, I'll put it to you that way, on defense or special teams. Offensively, I think they're going to be a good team. They can put points on the board and fast. But, again, the running game not being there is the big shock to me. You can't return 4 to 5 starting offensive linemen, 2 guys that will be 2 first-round picks, and not run the ball any better than they have in the first 3 games of the year. They had trouble running the ball against Nicholls State. Ryan, I'm talking about Nicholls State they had difficulties running the ball against. LSU fans ain't happy right now, Ryan. I can tell you that. They're not real happy about what they've seen out on the field. But listen, a W is a W. You take it. They give you nothing for style points, but it's been disappointing this year.
Mike, I want to go back real quick, and I don't have a lot of time right here, but I just want to ask some early thoughts on Alabama, Georgia. Georgia looked beatable against Kentucky. Alabama has not played the level of competition when you look at the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, it's going to be a tangle, and this town's going to be crazy next week. But just give me some early thoughts on this game from your perspective.
Man, one thing about Georgia, Kentucky, when they play there, they have given Georgia a lot of issues. For whatever reason, they've given them problems, and Kentucky's defense really played well. They played well enough to win. They just couldn't score. And Georgia sort of got things going in the third and fourth quarter. Ryan, didn't it seem to you like Georgia almost overlooked this game to a certain extent? Okay, we got it. We got it. Look what South Carolina did to them. We got this game. And it's a mental thing. I think you're going to catch the full-fledged when you see them again. Georgia's defense still legit. They is still really good on the defensive side of football. Their offense has not had that one guy to take over the running game. I don't think their offensive line is as good as I've seen it in years past. Carson didn't have a great game against Kentucky, but I can't say that any of the offensive players did. To be honest with you, man, Alabama's got a shot here. They really do. Just by what you sort of glimpse and see, if you're asking to pick a winner, I'd pick Georgia. But, man, I tell you what, I think Alabama's got a legit shot going up against them. And, man, Milroe gives you so many problems. A mobile quarterback that can move like what he can, he is going to give you fits, absolute fits. As a defensive coordinator, he's going to keep you up at night. It's a really tight football game. I would think Georgia probably will squeak it out, but, man, it's going to be awfully close.
I'm sure that's what the world will be talking about next week. Mike Detillier, WWL, the big 870 afternoon PM drive host with him and Bobby Aber and company. Mike, I appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Hey, listen, I sent a text to Lil Arch. I told him, man, I know you got better wheels than your uncles do, and you proved it this week. Just the emoji back laughing. Yeah, I knew he could run. Lil Arch, he runs sort of like his grandpa used to run. He's got that genetic tool to him. Interesting situation what's happening in Texas now. With Quinn and with Lil Arch, and I'm sure Quinn will get the job back when he's healthy. But, man, I know one thing. Arch is a pretty competitive young man. He's a big man, and, man, he can run. I know Peyton and Eli could never run like that, not even close.
Mike, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man, for being a part of our show. Have an awesome rest of your week, man.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Mike Detillier, WWL, the big 870. We're going to dive right back into phone calls. We've got more. All right, we welcome you right back into the game. Let's go to Paul in Lincoln. Paul, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well. Hey, Paul. There we are. How are you, Paul?
Hey. Good. Greetings from East Alabama, Ryan.
Yeah, they had a big, impressive victory. Yes, they did. I mean, the Auburn Tigers were able to beat New Mexico, which is just a major program that hadn't won a game this season.
Right. And listen, we all know they suck, right? Can we all agree that the Bugs suck?
We do.
And we embrace that suck, don't we?
S-A-U-C-K. S-A-U-C-K. And the A-U stands for?
The Auburn Tigers.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we
That's
were
what it stands for. Yes, it's correct.
And Hugh Hefner is, I think I texted you this the other day. I was watching his press conference on one of the news channels following the Kentucky-Georgia game. And I'm sitting there. They went to it live, and I'm going, what a fraud. What an absolute fraud.
He's a dirtbag. I'm telling you. This guy is the biggest shyster. Man, I'm telling you what. I mean, he makes some of the old televangelists look for real, you know? I mean, this guy, does a guy ever shave? I mean, he looks like he just got out of an all-nighter at Innisfree. Are you kidding me? I mean, this guy is something else.
Innisfree's too fancy for Hugh. Hugh would be like, the Booby Bungalow or something. I don't know. I mean, he would be a guy that would be
the Booby Trap down on the hill.
Wesley's Booby Trap.
Yeah. I mean, he would be. I mean, he looks like a guy. I mean, if you were taking anyway, Lord have mercy, how in the world did you?
I know.
Yeah. But,
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ryan.
I mean, I am coming in with a positive attitude, trying to be nice, trying to be friendly, and you dragged me into the weeds.
I know. I mean, that's.
I mean, it's kind of like Super Joe. Did you hear Super Joe yesterday? Paul? Did Paul just die? Did the Auburn Tiger? Okay. Did you hear Super Joe yesterday, Paul?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Super Joe publicly endorsed the Donald on the air.
DJT.
He did.
Donald John Trump.
He did. Right here, Super Joe. And he said a few things that could probably have got me fired. Thank God we don't record the show.
Right. Oh, was this at the live remote?
Oh, yeah. Speaker blasting. Okay. And Super Joe went into all the reasons why he's not voting for Kamala.
For Comrade. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And like this game on the 28th is not already hyped enough, Ryan. Now you've got King MAGA that's going to be on the property. I just hope, Ryan, that I hope he gets another supply, or in addition to some of his Secret Service agents, because they're not cutting the mustard, Ryan. Let's be honest. I mean, 2 attempts in 2 months. It's seriously, it's very scary what's going on. But we can save that for another day. But that's good. I'm glad Super Joe endorsed MAGA. I'm sure there's plenty of our great callers.
I mean, Super Joe went into the reasons why, and he went into some very, very unique descriptives. Let me just say it that way. I'm trying to be careful here, Paul. I don't want to repeat what he said, but he went. I didn't realize that's where he was going to take me, but he did, and he said it right here. He endorsed the Donald and Super Joe.
There's plenty of room on the MAGA bus.
Yeah, and he talked room. He talked about it from an African American perspective. Said, "Hey, listen,
exactly.
This is why I cannot support her." And I went, "Whoa, Super Joe! I didn't realize this was coming, but he did." And Super Joe with a big endorsement. So, and I think it's even going to convince him to go to the Georgia games. What he was trying, if he can find a ticket, which is
right.
You're going to have to sell a kidney and a liver and a. I mean,
right? Exactly.
A kid? No, I'm sorry. That's what Democrats do. Human trafficking. Not a kid, but a kidney.
They do.
Yeah.
Ryan, I know you went through. I didn't get a chance to call you yesterday. The good, the bad, the ugly. There was really nothing. There was nothing bad whatsoever. Whatsoever to me in that performance. I'm going to tell you where my ugly was.
Okay.
My ugly was nowhere near Madison, Wisconsin. It was in Columbia, South Carolina.
Ooh, them Tigers.
And well, I'm talking about the officiating
it was a joke.
of one
The SEC,
Jason
the entire
Autry.
league is embarrassing. When you look at this league of officiating,
horrible.
Watching the Wisconsin game made me realize how bad we are in the SEC with officiating.
That crew is an absolute joke. I mean, listen. I'm the last one that wants to say a ref calls a team a game, but you look back at that crew. You look at Tennessee in 22. You look at what almost happened in Lee County last year, and you look what that crew did to South Carolina. It was an abomination. That pick six. I mean, the call on roughing the unsportsmanlike conduct, the blind side. I mean, the guy, he stuck his hands out there and hit him. He didn't put a shoulder or lead with the head. He blocked the guy.
How can this group be the number one graded group in the SEC? I mean, that would be like me and a bunch of dum-dums and then going, that's the smartest guy in the room right there. No, I mean, I'm just here with a bunch of dum-dums. It's when you look at that crew, the SEC, Greg Sankey, we're looking at you.
Yeah, it's an embarrassment. Sankey is an embarrassment. If he thinks that crew is cutting the mustard, then Sankey's a joke and a fraud too, because
he is a politician. You can hear it.
He is. But and then Robbie Ashford completes that third and 15 or 20 to convert that third down that would have probably iced the game. And they call offensive pass interference. They got the number wrong, first of all, and then I don't know if anybody saw the offensive pass interference. It was terrible. It was those two calls caused South Carolina that ball game. They outplayed LSU. They out-hit LSU, and Jason Autry and his crew served LSU South Carolina on a platter. And LSU took it. It was a joke. It was terrible. You could tell 2 weeks ago when DeBoer was asked about some of the calls against South Florida that he wanted to go on a rant. But he didn't do it. He didn't do it because he could be fined and reprimanded publicly. But I bet he's looking at these officials going, I thought the SEC was supposed to be bigger, better than everybody else. We had better officials. When you watch another league, a power, well, now it's a 4. It's not longer a power 5, even though we're still referring it. Power 4 leagues. When you watch other leagues, you realize how bad we really are. And it's almost like, and I put this on Twitter, it had nothing to do with Alabama, Wisconsin. It was everything to do with other games I was watching, how of a discrepancy it is with the confusion. I mean, they look always confused. There's always something going on where they have to go get clarification. It's like, well, let's go talk to Birmingham. Okay, well, Birmingham, you want to put a Okay, no problem. I mean, it looks like they cannot do their job to the proper level. Whoever it is that's a director of officiating needs to be publicly reprimanded a couple of minutes ago. But, Paul, I'll let you have the final thought, man. I got to go. Well, I'm just saying the Big Ten officials, they let Alabama. I'm not saying they were perfect. By no means I'm saying it. But they let them play. And the SEC officials, they seem like they put themselves in the middle of a game. And it just, instead of letting you play, listen, I know there are penalties. I know there's penalties on both sides. But those two calls absolutely cost South Carolina that football game.
Good point. Hey, Paul, appreciate you, man. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide and roll MAGA.
Thank you. We appreciate you. As we remind you, it is thestandardbama.com, the home of the 20-inch pizza pie, pepperoni, meat lovers, cheese. Design your own, thestandardbama.com, thestandardbama.com. You can find wings, boneless wings, cheese sticks, mac and cheese bites, pepperoni, meat lovers, cheese. To sign your own, thestandardbama.com, thestandardbama.com, home of the 20-inch pizza pie, University Boulevard full-service restaurant, also available by DoorDash. You can have your food delivered right there. It is the greatest time of the year. Kickoff is here and football is officially back as we enter week number 4 of the college football season and week number 3 of the NFL season. Over 1 million fans across 33 different states have got in the game last year by competing on Underdog. Went up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite players, touchdowns, passing yards, rushing yards. Hey, if you love the Crimson Tide, there's a lot of those metrics around college football. Higher or lower on your favorite players. It's kind of fun, right? I mean, you get to see the metrics and you get to see that. UnderdogFantasy.com. When you look at it, hey, just looking at what they expect from this Alabama-Georgia game. That'll be a lot of fun. But if you look at the NFL, if you want to bet on your Alabama guys, higher or lower, Underdog Fantasy. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and also signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog, simple to use mobile app, UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code Fowler, Fowler. Underdog will give you free picks to use on your first Cash Champions entry, plus $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Fowler to claim your new customer special of a free pick with your deposit offer. Must be in 19 in the state of Alabama and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Underdog Fantasy. We're coming back. Wayne in Northport. DeBoer has only lost 2 games against ranked top 25 teams. Let that sink in. He's 12-2 all time against top 25 teams. In his 4 seasons at Fresno and Washington, at this point, he's not played a top 25 team here. He'll get that opportunity when you look at the Georgia Bulldogs. 12-2 against top 25 teams. That will be one of the things that we'll dial into. Let's go to Wayne in Northport, powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. Hey, Wayne, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Good afternoon, Ryan. All is well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, I just want to say, I know it's early, and I know we got 2 weeks to talk about it, but after what happened Saturday night, I didn't see the game because I had some things going on. But
hey, real quick, Wayne, just hold that for like 2 seconds. Tua Tagovailoa, according to Ian Rappaport and a couple of other reporters, but I'll credit Ian Rappaport. He is saying the Dolphins are placing Tua Tagovailoa on an injured reserve in order to give him the ample time to progress through the stages of the concussion protocol. He will meet with outside neurologists. The earliest Tua could return is Week 8 against the Arizona Cardinals, but the Dolphins are committed to placing no timeline on him as they work through a deliberate process and eventual return to play. So there it is, Ian Rappaport reporting that Tua Tagovailoa will be placed on injured reserve. I'm sorry, Wayne, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was breaking.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. That's important news because I saw the headline pop across ESPN, but I didn't know what they had said. So the earliest he can return is Week 8, but at this point I think he needs to, I hate to say it, Ryan, but he needs to consider retirement. This is, I love him, and I've loved him for a long time as a Bama player, but he needs to think about his family.
Well, here's the thing. In that culture, quitting is not something that maybe is acceptable. And I hate to say that in a weird way, but I don't really know any other way to say it. It's a warrior mentality, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that Polynesian culture, it's just who he is. It is. I'm not saying that it would be. I'm just saying how that culture is. There is not a lot of quit, in that particular culture.
I know it, but I don't know. He's only 26, and he's already had.
No, I'm not disagreeing with anything you said. I'm just trying to look at it from that perspective. But hey, Wayne, let's go back to Wisconsin. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Just that was breaking across the line.
I said, I know we got 2 weeks to talk about Georgia, but I want to go ahead and look a little bit forward to Georgia. I didn't see that game Saturday night. I had some things going on, and I didn't see the Georgia game. I saw our game, but I didn't see the Georgia game. It was shocking to me when I woke up the next morning and found out how close the game was. I mean, you saw the game. What did Kentucky do to Georgia? Did they have a lot of turnovers or something?
Just a physical football team. That was probably the biggest surprise to me, is watching them the week prior, just clips. Like when you cover Alabama, you don't get a chance to sit down for 3.5 hours unless they're on the road. But looking back at the previous week where South Carolina kind of thumped them, physicality, they challenged them. And it's not like Kentucky is, as high explosive team. But they won the trenches. To me, that was the biggest takeaway, is just going, whoa, where's the Georgia line of scrimmage that we're kind of being accustomed to?
Exactly. And Coach DeBoer is going to be creative. I watched a lot of Washington last year, and not knowing that he was going to be our coach, but I just happened to watch a lot of Washington last year. I watched both Oregon games. They whipped Oregon twice. And I think our talent is good enough. We can play with Georgia. I'm not scared of them.
No, I don't think. Heck, if anything, I think the pressure's on them, Wayne. I think the pressure's on the Dogs.
Hey, I think you're exactly correct, because everybody's expecting them to just walk through this league. I'd like to make an adjustment in what I said preseason. I said I thought Georgia, Ole Miss, and Alabama would make the playoffs and Texas would not. I'd like to readjust that and say now I think Texas, Alabama, and Ole Miss will make it and Georgia will not. Because Georgia's schedule, if they have that much trouble with Kentucky, road games at Ole Miss, Alabama, and Texas, they're not going to survive that if they don't play a lot better.
Well, in Texas, I was hoping that Georgia was going to play well enough to be able to maintain that number one spot. I wanted them to come to Bryant-Denny number one. And then that would even be more pressure. Now, Kirby is, I think Greg said this after the game, when you look at this game, they can now use the doubt. Look, man, you guys played so rough. Look, the world's doubting you. They're doubting you. Look at them. Look at them. They don't even believe. And so they're going to have that another level of motivation. So when you look at the Georgia Bulldogs, to me, who does Texas have this week? Because I don't know.
Texas has ULM and Mississippi State next 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah, forget it. I mean, it's cruise control. I mean, Mississippi State's a joke. And I love the Bulldog fans. I love the culture over there. I think it's a unique little environment. I think when you look at Davis Wade Stadium, it's a fun place to go. So when you look at it, but Mississippi State just seems to be with Jeff Lebby. It's just not, the talent's not there. So
it's not there yet.
But Texas,
got a lot of building to
I'm
do.
not exactly sure if we could be putting the cart before the horse. I just think college football is a jumbled up mess.
It is. And on the Fox update, I don't know if you caught it when you were playing the Fox update, but Tennessee's going up 15% next year on ticket prices because they're adding in a 10% talent fee for the NIL deal.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Because that was a discussion point that I was going to bring up.
I think you're going to see it more and more. Ticket prices going up because you're having to pay the players now, and it's going to become more and more like an NFL model. As we go forward, I think we're going to lose the college atmosphere, and that bothers me.
So that's where we're at. I mean, yesterday, could I have ever imagined 3 or 4 years ago that I'd be doing a live remote where there were two current players, not former players, not legendary players, will be, but when you think about 2 players at a remote, this is the eyes adjustment part. It's where we're at. And I thought those 2 young men really were great ambassadors of the University of Alabama yesterday.
It was important. We got good kids, and I love Jalen, I love Brian Williams. I think they're both going to be great players, but I know we got a lot of time to talk about it, Ryan, but I'm really looking forward to the game, and I just think it's going to be a great test, and I think we're going to pass it. I think we're going to beat the Dogs.
Okay. Wayne, thank you.
Right.
Appreciate you, man. Roll Tide.
Good.
Hey, right back to you. We're talking about a little confidence side of things. Let's go to Stephen in Raleigh, North Carolina. Stephen, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
All is well, Ryan. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Right. Can you believe we're already headed into week 4 for the Alabama Crimson Tide of this football season?
Yeah, this bye week.
It goes by fast. This bye week could go by quick, and next thing you know, here's what I kind of was that Wayne in North Fort right before me?
It was.
Yeah, Wayne. You know what I see in Georgia, Ryan, is I don't see the explosive athletes among the wide receivers and the tight end group and even the right at the end. I mean, he's serviceable, but I would not take him over our 2 running backs in any day. I see an offensive line getting whipped, and quite frankly, both line of scrimmages, Ryan. Coach Kirby Smart. He spent the longest time under Nick Saban. So, therefore, he runs his team like Nick Saban, or tries to. He imitates that style. Ryan, do you think he's still going to try to defend our team like it's being coached by Nick Saban because that's all he knows?
Yes. Yes,
I think that's an advantage for Alabama. Because, like the Wisconsin game, Ryan, there is no way in hell that Nick Saban would have got the ball on the 26-yard line with 36 seconds left and started slinging it down the field to score another touchdown before halftime. Not under Nick Saban, that wouldn't have happened.
No. And did you hear the audio clip with Kalen DeBoer talking about being aggressive?
Yes.
And who we are?
Yes.
It's our MO.
That's who we are, Ryan. But I think Kirby Smart's going to try to defend us like we're still being coached by Nick Saban, because that's what he knows. That's what he's comfortable with. For 6 years, he's been an imitator of the Alabama program. But Ryan, you and I both know we don't have Nick Saban coaching offense anymore, coaching this team anymore. And Nick Saban was a great, great coach, but Kalen DeBoer has a completely different style. And his record against top 25 teams, it's phenomenal.
12-2. Only lost 2 games to ranked opponents. I know the one game was Michigan, but I don't know the other game.
So, I think that's our advantage right there is the styles we're going to play compared to what Kirby Smart's going to try to defend. I mean, that touchdown to Josh Cuevas, with him being the second tight end coming out and the first tight end taking the safety with him, wonder instead of Josh Cuevas in that position right there, wonder if that's Ryan Williams. And a linebacker has to run with him in that formation.
There was so many different things from a formula or from a schematic side of things. When he moved Ryan Williams on the inside and get him on a safety, that safety had no shot. None. Zero.
And we're just starting to see that, right? We're just starting to see what the formations and the
That's why we're going to talk coming up in a couple of minutes with Tony Franklin, and we're going to pick his brain about the offensive schemes and how much do you hold back, how much do you want to put stuff on tape to make them think, and then we're also going to talk about why mobile quarterbacks give the 3-4 defense. Is there something in the 3-4? Because Nick Saban, that was his kryptonite, and Alabama is Kirby Smart's kryptonite plus a mobile quarterback.
I've heard a few people say, Ryan, that this could be more of a shootout. And I've seen our explosive players, Ryan. You and I both, everybody watching has seen the Alabama explosive players. They know who they are. I haven't seen the explosive players on the Georgia side. I don't know who they are. They have yet to show it. They may be holding it back.
It could be. It could work both ways. You're right.
I mean, we're not the only one that could hold things back.
You're right.
Although Kirby Smart, like I said, we kind of know what he is. We're just now finding out what Kalen DeBoer is at Alabama with this kind of athletes, because he's never had them before. So I'm looking forward to it.
I am as well. Are you more confident after this weekend?
I am, and it's more about us than Georgia. It's about the offensive line play. I think 5 guys in there. I tell you what, they played really well, and I realized Wisconsin's not the fastest team in the world, but there's still some big old boys over there, Ryan. They always have been. They've always had big and strong guys. Did you see the block that number one, the wide receiver, number one, he caught the first touchdown pass of the year in the first game?
I did.
What's his name?
Yeah, I don't know his name right.
I'm getting old, Ryan. I'm forgetting players' names.
You're talking about Alabama?
Yeah, Alabama, number one.
Kendra Law. I'm sorry.
Kendra Law.
I thought you were talking about, I thought you were talking about Wisconsin's number one.
Did you see the block that he put on that safety?
I did. And that was something that was highlighted.
I noticed it when Cole Kublik highlighted it in one of his breakdowns is when I noticed it. And then I went back and watched it. I mean, I guess he does bench 450, Ryan, because he threw that guy like a
linebacker. Yeah. Looks like a linebacker.
Yeah, for real. Anyhow, roll tide. I love your show.
Hey, thanks.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah,
yes,
Steven,
sir.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the number one because that little speedster that they've got up at Wisconsin was pretty dangerous too. I mean, he had some speed, just didn't have a quarterback to get him the football. And by the way, Tyler Van Dyke with a torn ACL will miss the remaining part of the season. Kayla DeBoer audio. One more clip before we get to Tony Franklin. Tony Franklin coming up in just a couple of minutes. We're talking a little Alabama, Georgia. We're also recapping Alabama, Wisconsin. We're going to talk to Tony Franklin coming up in just a couple of minutes. We'll look at it from an offensive scheme standpoint. What has he seen in the first three games? What is Nick Sheridan? When you look at that, we'll talk about it coming up in just a couple of minutes. But right now, we go back to Kalen DeBoer audio. This was something that he said about Jalen Milroe and the pre-snap reads and what he's seen him and how he's seen him progress. This is Kalen DeBoer speaking at his weekly press conference about pre-snap reads for Jalen Milroe.
Good question. That I'm trying to think through. I feel like there was, I think you get into the situations, probably the latter down at distances, third downs, when you see, the pressures, and I think he did a really solid job. There was one time, and it wouldn't fall necessarily on his lap, where there was a little bit of miscommunication across the board, or it didn't happen as fluid as smooth as you would like. I think we got to the point where we needed to by the time the ball was snapped, but just everyone being on the same page, and that's not just the offensive line and him, that's everyone. And so we could have done a better job across the board. But when in regards to Jalen, we are continuing to ask more and more of him as he gets more comfortable with what we do. And we know that is going to need to be the case, where he has full reign right now. He knows what the expectations are and what we really prefer him to be doing with the checks. And he's been really solid. And we're going into SEC play. We know that for sure.
All right, so there it is. When you talk about Jalen Milroe, we're going to ask Tony Franklin if he sees the same thing. We'll ask him coming up in just a couple of minutes. I do remind you about the Wharf, the Working Western headquarters for the entire family since 1976. The longstanding tradition of the Wharf, the Working Western headquarters for the entire family. Justin, Tony Lama, Red Wing, Georgia, Double H, Timberline, Laredo, and many more. It is the Wharf since 1976. The Working Western wear for the entire family. It is the Wharf on McFarland Boulevard between, it used to be Blue Plate and Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie crashed and burned, and, not crashed and burned, but just went out of business. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you guys. But Elgron Patreon, right past those guys, and the Blue Plate, you'll find the Wharf on the right-hand side of the road until 6 p.m., all the name brands, the Wrangler, the Levi, the Lee, the Carhartt clothing, the Rocky clothing. It is the Wharf. Go over and see my friends Mark and Lee and tell them the game sent you, whether you're looking for a casual boot, work boot, steel-toed boot, and the Western wear for the entire family, and the camo options as well. I know dove season's underway. I enjoyed a little dove hunt on Sunday, so always the camo options there. Coach Tony Franklin coming up here in just a couple of seconds. We'll also talk with Dave Bartu coming up at 4 o'clock. We'll talk with him about some coaching metrics and just kind of dive into what he has been able to see so far. But right now it's Coach Tony Franklin. Hey, Coach, I hope you're having a great college football season. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Coach, I'd love to get your thoughts on Alabama. You seen anything that jumped out to you about this Crimson Tide football team under Kalen DeBoer?
Yeah, I like them. I think that they are making just the gradual figuring out who they are. You think you know who you are, but you don't. Nobody knows who they are until you play 2 or 3 teams, and you got to play a couple of good teams before you really know who you are. I was disappointed in the South Florida game as far as the way that they were trying to run the ball early in the game and not staying with it enough. But I think that they figured that out, and I think they went to Wisconsin, and it looked to me like they really improved. I think the biggest thing that they've done, though, is that they have made the quarterback he's gone from being a really good player to, I think, a great player. And I think that's coaching. I just think that I love his footwork. I think his foot, last year we talked about it, and I always said if I had 30 minutes with him, I think I could have made him a lot better player. Well, they've had more than 30 minutes, and they've made his footwork so much better in the pocket that when he's working and he's moving, is that he's able to slide from A gap to B gap to C gap, keep his eyes downfield, and find third and fourth read progressions. And I also think that when he runs the ball, is that he's become the runner that looks to score rather than looking for a place to slide, which was part of the problem last year, especially early and midway through the season. But I just think that DeBoer has shown that. So far, obviously it's early. But he's a really good football coach. He doesn't panic. And I think that's the big thing. And, and then the OC figuring out probably who he is a little bit as an OC, because I don't think that there was that much experience as a play caller, but I think that he's figuring himself out and figuring out the talent. And I think those guys I don't think they've missed a drop.
Coach DeBoer made a comment the other day that I wanted to ask you about, and I'm going to paraphrase, but he was asking about overriding a play caller. And he said, I've been a play caller for this length of time. I don't override play callers unless I just feel like that I need to, because you need to be in the flow. You need to have confidence in you and what you're doing in the future. He said, do I have that privilege? Absolutely, sure. He said, but I don't like to, because I let the play caller be who he is. Can you take that from a coach and an offensive coordinator perspective?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great question, because I think that everything is relative. If you are a great play caller yourself, then what I want as a play caller is that, number one, I want to be able to call without second guessing, questioning. I want you to step in if you see something and you feel something and you know something. I just want you to do it. I used to tell guys, when you got a great idea, you're the head coach. Don't ask me. Just tell me. Just tell me what to do. Call it. I'm fine with that. What I don't want is the heckler in the stands, which is, I had on more than one occasion, which is the head coach that does nothing but, you might as well put a headset on a guy in the row 15 and let him question everything you do when it doesn't work. That's never good for anyone. So I think that when you are yourself a good play caller, which obviously he was, is you help in the game planning, you help in the output, but no, you don't interrupt their flow unless you're going to lose the game. If you're going to lose the game and you see that there's something that you need to do, and it might be a 4th and 1 or a 3rd and 2, because losing a ball game when you're at Alabama is different than losing a game when you're at Fresno. Because the standard is different. The standard is anything less than a national championship is considered a subpar year. Now, is that a fair standard? No. It's a horrible standard, but it's real. It's reality. So if you get into a game and you're in the 3rd quarter or you're in the 4th quarter and there's something and you know that if you don't change it, that it's going to affect the outcome of the game and you're going to lose it, then, at that point in time, you just override it and you say, this is it.
Do you see, and I know I'm skipping around, I probably should have followed this up with a second question here, but do you see the confidence in Jalen Milroe as far as the way that he's playing the game? Because when we talk to him, I don't understand the game the way you do, but I know when we talk to him, he has a different answer, and it just sounds confident in what he's being asked to do.
Well, and this is not a reflection on not a total reflection on last year and not putting down, the position coach, the coordinator, et cetera. But you're absolutely right. I mean, he's not the same player. Everything about him, his body language, everything shows a much better quarterback. And again, it's early, but he's been challenged. And you can tell that, to me, it's like Stetson Bennett at Georgia. And I'll say this because I don't know if Kirby Smart will ever win another national championship. And people can jump and pile on that and say, well, that's, terrible. And, he's the greatest coach since sliced bread. Yeah, one quarterback, Stetson Bennett, in my opinion, could overcome being second-guessed all the time, being chewed out all the time. No matter what happened, it was never Stetson's great. It was always, well, he listened to us. And that's hard for a quarterback to overcome. And what I see with Milroe is that he feels comfortable being who he is, and he's really so much better as a pure quarterback that also is a phenomenal runner. And, so to me, Alabama is getting to see something beautiful where you took a guy that a couple of years ago people questioned whether or not he should even be playing quarterback to maybe being the best one in the country.
You said Georgia may never win another national title?
Well, I say that with tongue-in-cheek like this.
Sure, but, it grabbed our attention.
Because, yeah, well, it should, because I believe it. Because I don't believe people have ever given Stetson Bennett the credit that he deserves. And it's all because of, the standards that we say for what a great quarterback should be. But what Stetson Bennett had was the ability to walk off that field and to take those unmerciful ass-chewings that he took from Kirby Smart and to walk back out and not affect him at all. And a great quarterback has to have that confidence that he can throw 2 picks and walk back out on the field and not be afraid to throw the third one, because you're going to have a bad game. But you know what? Somewhere along the way, you're going to have a bad game and you're going to have to overcome it. And it's very difficult to do when you don't feel like that you've got the confidence and the backing of the head coach. So no, I'm one of those guys that I don't like the body language. I don't like the way that Kirby coaches quarterbacks. And obviously, he's had more success than I ever dreamed of in my life. And he's, one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in all of football. But show me when he wins another one with another quarterback, then I'll say, yeah, well, hey, it worked.
I want to go to Ryan Williams. This young man should still be in high school. Instead, he's leading the Crimson Tide in both receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. So 3 different categories. Ryan Williams should be a senior in high school getting ready to play his final senior season. Instead, he's an all-star on this football team. What do you see in the wide receiver, the freshman Ryan Williams?
Well, every now and then you just have these guys that come along that are completely unique to everything that you're taught. You're not supposed to be able to do what he can do, but he can. LeBron James was that type of player that, he could go from high school into the NBA. There's every now and then, there's just guys that are just made different. His dad was a really good player, and I think that the influence of a father having that charisma and having that ability to make plays and to play in the SEC and to play in big games, and then all of a sudden you have, the physical talent. But I think Coach Saban said this the other day, which I thought was really strong, is that he said something about him being one of, if not the most mature kids that's ever come in, that, ready to go, ready to play. And that's just unique. And, the thing now will be just whether or not his body can physically handle, a 15-game season. Can his body go through that? And so far, obviously, he's shown everybody that he can handle it so far.
Coach Tony Franklin right now visiting with us. If you want to connect with Coach TF on the Twitter account, Coach TF there. It's also CoachTF.com. He's a guy that helps us analyze college football. We always love picking his brain. So this is a media question coming from a media member that doesn't understand the next play call will be my first. But you always hear this saying, they're holding back some. They're holding back. They're not showing everything. How much more do you think of this offense is really there when you look at it going into the Georgia and the bye week?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot.
But you hear that saying, right? You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
They're holding back, and I don't ever know if that's really true, if that's just a saying.
Well, you're holding back if you can. I think at the end of the South Alabama game, they were trying to make sure they won it. But you haven't built your library. I always look at it like this. You start, and in our old system, in 3 days, we had 90% of our schematic stuff in. And then everything after that is building within that. So you're building something that looks different, but it's actually the same. Like the offensive line, you're going to run zone concepts and gaps concepts. That's mainly it. Every now and then there might be a man concept. But basically, everything for the rest of the year is going to be based upon those two things. So there's not many changes in the offensive line. In the receiver core, you're going to run a corner route and a post corner. You're going to run a dig. You're going to run a hitch. You're going to run a slant. You're going to run a speed out. So there might be something that starts off looking different with a shift or with a motion or with the way that you break the huddle, with the tempo, et cetera, that's going to be different for the defense. But for you, most of what you've done is the same. The only person that you really, truly have to worry about offensively is the quarterback. Can the quarterback handle the adjustments in the puzzle? Everybody else kind of just has one thing that they're doing. The quarterback has everything. And it all comes down to how much can he handle and, are you smart enough to do what he can do? One of the beauties of Mike Leach was that he was going to run the same stuff 99% of the time. He wasn't going to adjust. He wasn't going to change. That was the beauty part. I think the thing that maybe that some of the people in the Air Raid family miss is that all that stuff is wonderful, but it's very difficult to win a championship without building the puzzle some, because defensive coaches are pretty damn smart. They're pretty good. They're going to be building their stuff as well. So you have to have the ability to make those adjustments as the season goes, and you're going to get injuries. And then you're going to have to rebuild your puzzle somewhat. If you go to your third team Z and he's not good, and even at Alabama, he may not be good enough, then you may have to do something in building the puzzle to where that it becomes, instead of one tight end, it becomes two tight ends. It might even be three tight ends, because you might have the third tight end is better than the second team Z. So that's part of the adjustment as a coach, is how do you build the puzzle as all the things throughout the season continue to happen.
Is there anything that jumps out on the defensive side of the football for Alabama? They're young over there. They're having to start some true freshmen, but I'm curious what you see on the defensive side of the ball.
I loved how they traveled. I loved how they traveled and how they traveled with physicality. Wisconsin's a great tradition, great history. They're different than they used to be because, they're trying to do tempo stuff, and that's an adjustment for those guys. It's a second year, but it's not the old Wisconsin football. But I loved how Alabama's defense was super physical, and I thought that was the difference in the ball game. And so they traveled physicality, and I thought that was a huge deal. They got after their butt. They made some plays. I love the third down stop early in the game, third or fourth down stop. And defense, physicality can travel. And if it does, then you're going to win the game, because trust me, there's going to come a game where the offense stinks. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good a scheme you got. I don't care how many things. It doesn't matter. You're going to have one or two games where they throw in a stinker. And when they do, the defense better be able to save the day. That's how you win championships. I'm an offensive guy. I've had a season where I've averaged 52 points and been the number one offense in the country. But here's what I know. You are not going to win a championship if you can't play good defense on the day that your offense stinks. And there will be a day, probably two, during the season that no matter how good you are, you will stink. And the defense better come save the day.
Coach Tony Franklin right now visiting with us. We're talking little X's and O's and talking about what he sees in this Alabama football team. I want to ask you about Georgia from a perspective of it feels like that this is a little bit of a drop-off. When you look at them, who knows? Maybe they're holding some things back.
Well, I think the thing that Georgia has proven historically, the last three trips to Kentucky have been hard. For whatever reason, who knows? I mean, Kentucky had definitely not looked like a good football team. But every time Georgia has traveled to Kentucky, the last three trips they've taken to Kentucky, they haven't looked good. So I don't know what it is. It used to be that old bluegrass at this time of year starts to get a little slick, but it's not that anymore since they got turf. But it's always a great crowd. It's a great atmosphere. They get fired up for these games. They always think it's going to be that one magical night like we had in 1997, my first year coaching at Kentucky, when we beat Alabama on a magical night. But the crowd is always ready for that. Georgia's incredibly talented. They play phenomenal defense. And because of that, they're always going to be an extremely difficult out. And, that's the one thing about Kirby. He's a defensive coach. He believes that that's how you win championships, and he's right. But just like, I said about Alabama in the same breath, the same thing with Kirby. There may be a game where he's got to score 35 points to win against a good team. And that's where that quarterback has got to be able to rock and roll and, have nerves of steel and not really care what the head coach says. And I'm telling you, every great quarterback has that in them. Now, sometimes you can win the championship without that in the quarterback, but most of the time you can't. You got to have that guy that just basically, he sits there and takes that butt chewing that he gets, and it goes in one ear and out the other. He walks out onto that field and ain't bothered him one bit, and that's who Stetson Bennett was. So it'll be interesting to see if Beck has that same type of mentality and can handle it.
Kirby Smart is 1-5 against Alabama. When you look at Kalen DeBoer, you're number one. Is the pressure on the Dogs now since Nick Saban is retired and their fans are going, it's all Nick Saban's fault. It's all Nick Saban's fault. Is the pressure on the Dogs as they come to Tuscaloosa in 2 weeks?
Well, I think any time that you've been the number one team in the country and people expect that on you, then sure the pressure is. But, there's no more pressure on any human in the world than there is Kalen DeBoer. I mean, you're taking over for the greatest coach in the history of the game of college football. It's your first season. You've got Georgia coming in. You go out and lay an egg against them. Just think about this. You know this more than I do. There's times where people were calling for Saban to retire. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if you're Belichick. Is that once you lose a game that they think you should win, there's going to be a group of people that think you stink, you're horrible. So I think that Coach DeBoer has more pressure on him than Georgia does. The great thing about the way the system is set up now, you can lay the one egg and still make the playoffs and still have a chance to win a championship. So it's different. The standard is different than what it used to be, because it used to be sometimes you couldn't lay the one egg and you were done. You had to wait on somebody else to do something. But now, you lose a game, maybe even 2 games, and still get in.
I want to ask you about a 3-4 defense because it gave Nick Saban problems. We always called it the Nick Saban kryptonite. I guess it's everybody's kryptonite, a mobile quarterback that can extend plays. But a 3-4 defense, is there something schematic-wise that doesn't line up against mobile quarterbacks? Because it has been a kryptonite here in Tuscaloosa, and it has been over in Athens as well.
Well, here's the thing. When somebody is playing a 3-man front, and this is hard for the old air raid family, to hear from me, but I've been kicked out of that family for a long time. When football changed, when Nick Saban made the decision, I'll never forget in 2012, he was talking about tempo and spread offenses were the end of football and all that, and eventually he had to do it. He didn't have a choice. The game changed, high school football changed, quarterbacks changed, and coaches had to change what they were doing in college football. Well, 3-man fronts became the kryptonite eventually for tempo and for one-back offenses and for spread offenses. So here's the thing. You've got to get big when somebody else is getting small. And that's what I tell my clients all over the country now, is that they go, Coach, what are we going to do now? We're in 4 wide and we're running 4 guys out on routes and there's no grass. They're dropping 8 and there's no place. I said, yeah, if they got 8 and you got 4, there is no grass. So what you've got to do to create grass is you've got to make them no longer be in a 3-man front by getting big. That means playing with a tight end and a sniffer back or 2 tight ends. Sometimes for me, it was with only 1 wideout or with 2 wideouts, because otherwise you can't force them into match-up man coverage. And if you don't force them into it, then you're not going to create any grass for your receivers. And then you got to pound the football, and then you got to take your shots when you get your shots. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to understand, is that the game has changed. And you can say, well, we've always done this. Well, that's a terrible answer. We've always done it is not a good answer, because everybody adjusts and everybody changes. And defensive coaches, they figure this stuff out. So you've got to adjust as well.
Coach Tony Franklin visiting with us. Coach, I could talk to you all afternoon, but I got to stop here because I'm up against the break. I want you to take a couple of minutes and talk about CoachTF.com, because you offer what you've been able to offer inside into the game of college football, high school football. You're always adding to clients. I want you to invite people to how they can connect with you.
Well, at CoachTF.com, I've got something now that's really helped coaches during the season this year, besides our lifetime product that we do. But I actually have made game plans for coaches every week this season. I call it the Hang 50, meaning hang 50 points on somebody. But what I do is I've written out scripts, and I have got the video copy of the scripts. It's the coolest thing ever. A coach can actually take my opening script, the red zone script, the green zone script, the 2-point play script, and they can basically copy and run that stuff the following week. So it's been fun to watch my clients have incredible success, as many years that they've had that, but this year's been especially fun. So we've got lots of answers for people that are just trying to win a game. You know, you try and save your job, or you try and, if you win 2 extra games this season, it changes your career. And that's what I've been doing for a long time now, is helping coaches do that.
Coach, we're getting a lot of great reviews out of our conversation, man. We enjoy and we appreciate you allowing us to pick your brain for a couple of minutes. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you. Coach Tony Franklin visiting with us. We'll continue with more of the game. T-Town Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Alabama and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky partly to mostly sunny. The high 87. For tonight, clear with the low at 64. We're dry for the rest of the week. For tomorrow and Thursday, the sky sunny both days. Highs between 86 and 89. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, we welcome you right back into the game here in Tuscaloosa. We're up against a lightning segment. We've also got Dave Bartu, but we're going right back to phone calls coming up in about 15 minutes right here on the game. T-Town Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Serve in West Alabama. If they don't have what you're looking for on the lot, they'll find it for you. Check out the complete inventory at Mercedes-of-Tuscaloosa.com. Roll Tide.
El Grant is the great Mexican place in Winn-Dixie Shopping Center. Go over and see my friends Carlos, 205-391-4555, 62 McFarland Boulevard, Monday through Thursday from 11 until 9:30, Friday and Saturday 11 until 10:30, Sunday also open 11 until 9. You'll find the great daily lunch specials. You'll find great entrees, including the
ChildsCountryBuffet.com or call 205-810-8888. The all-new Child's Country Buffet opening soon on Skyland Boulevard. Join us for a meal to remember.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Dan Byer.
The Miami Dolphins are placing quarterback Tua Tagovailoa on injured reserve because of a concussion. That means Tua will miss the team's next 4 games. Those games are against the Seahawks, Titans, Patriots, and Colts. There's also a bye week sandwiched in between that 4-game stretch. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin says the team is prepping as if Justin Fields will be their starting quarterback this Sunday in their home opener against the Chargers. As for Russell Wilson and his calf injury,
we'll follow Russ throughout the week.
And if his participation gets to a level in participation and quality where we should consider him, we'll delve into that at that time. And obviously, when that happens is a component of the consideration.
The Chiefs are signing free agent running back Kareem Hunt. Browns are inking running back Royce Freeman to a contract, while the Packers are placing running back Marshawn Lloyd on IR. And Augusta National announced that the third round of the Masters will start an hour earlier on Saturday of the 2025 Masters on CBS.
I got spirit, I got faith. I might bend, but I won't break. I'll fight the elements. And I'ma go down swinging.
And we are 48 days away from Alabama Crimson Tide basketball. That's brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, alabamacu.com. Checking, savings, mortgage, home equity loan, financing a vehicle. It is Alabama Credit Union. Let's continue. Let's talk right here of the conversation with Dave Bartoo, as we're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyline Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. Dave Bartoo, CFBMatrix.com. Dave, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Dude, I'm having a great day. Are the folks down there at Toyota Tuscaloosa as big Bama homers as you are?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're big homers.
Really?
Yeah.
They're as bad as you?
Yeah.
Holy
probably
moly.
worse. Probably worse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just nothing but crimson Toyotas only, right? That's it. Crimson and white. There's no other color in Tuscaloosa that you can buy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we don't have blue and orange coordinations here. And if you do, that would be a significant discount. I mean, you had to drive a blue and orange vehicle here, or like a red and black from Georgia. No, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. But, Dave, I want to ask you, man, if I'd have got you on after South Florida, we'd probably have a different conversation. But Alabama went on the road and played Wisconsin and looked like a pretty good football team. What'd you think?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. There wouldn't have been a whole lot to talk. I don't like talking about numbers too much before week 3 or 4 anyways, because everybody's still, especially when you have a program like Alabama with a new staff. It's new everywhere. So, everybody's going to have a little bit of a slip up, especially early on. Heck, look at Georgia, Kentucky last week. Did you expect that? I mean, I didn't.
Nobody did.
No.
Nobody did.
No. So wake-up calls are good as long as you win, right? You just don't want to be on the wrong end of those things. But, when I'm looking at numbers through week 3 for Alabama, there's 2 things that pop out to me. One, efficiency on both sides of the football. And as you know, but maybe some of your listeners don't, to me, scoring efficiency, offensive scoring efficiency, defensive scoring efficiency, those are the 2 king metrics in college football for me. You give me that, I can tell stories about football games. I can pick winners off of those numbers. And right now, Alabama, through week 3, okay, you're second in the country in offensive scoring efficiency, 10 in defensive scoring efficiency. Overall, the 3rd most scoring efficient team in college football. So that's the first thing that jumps out to me, especially considering what, like we just said, you got a new staff. But here's the other thing that I want to make a point of, and we'll see how this plays out. It's a little bit early, okay? But who's ultimately in charge of Alabama football scheduling non-conference? Is that Greg?
Yeah,
or a combination thereof?
Well, I'm sure Saban probably approves some of these non-conference games, but Greg Byrne would be the guy, I would assume.
Right. So I want to give it whoever put this together, whether it's Greg and Nick or anybody else. Okay, I think that, or I feel that the schedule that was put together is excellent. This is a great opportunity in terms of this is how you schedule, because now a lot of people say, oh, Western Kentucky, we blew them out, right? 63-0. But that team is going to finish probably 8-4, 9-3. That is going to be a quality win on your resume. South Florida, made it close for a little bit. South Florida is probably going to start 3-3. They have nothing on their schedule at the end. They're going to end up 7-5, maybe 8-4. There's another quality win. And Wisconsin's probably the biggest question mark, simply because if you forward look on their schedule, they got a loss with probably USC. They got a loss to Penn State, Iowa, Oregon, Nebraska. They might not get to 7-5. but they have a really good shot at getting there. So having 3 non-conference games where you win them all easily, and still have the ability to get quality wins out of each and every one, that is, I mean, if I was talking to Greg personally, I couldn't have made a better schedule, really. So this is ideal in terms of looking forward, because you're talking playoffs right now, right? You're talking about seeding. Those quality wins, non-conference quality wins, add up. They're very, very important long term.
So when you look at it, I don't want to just pump sunshine. I mean, I'm not asking you to go negative here, but we do kind of look at 3-0 and we look at the offensive direction. It's kind of fun to see how Kalen DeBoer. But let me ask you, if you're an Alabama fan, you're not, but let's ask you from a concern standpoint, where should Alabama fans be concerned, if anything at all?
The 2 things for big time programs like y'all, okay, depth and health, right? And they go hand in hand. All right, so you got a bye this week, then you got Georgia, and then you have a bye, and then you have South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, LSU. That is physically going to wear you down. Now, are you going to win most of those games? Yeah, you're probably going to be favored in every single one of them. But that being said, what's the health? What's the depth? I think for national championship contenders, the biggest drawback of free agency in college football is lack of depth. Guys that would normally be really solid backups are now trying to go somewhere to get paid more and start. So to me, I think the biggest enemy for Alabama physically is health, and I think mentally is avoiding the trap game, because we saw Kentucky fall prey of the trap game, right? They looked right past South Carolina, got smoked, showed up for Georgia, still got beat, but that South Carolina game was a huge trap. And there's a couple of them on your schedule, right? Because you go to LSU, right before that you got Missouri. All right, you go to where you're hosting Auburn, and obviously the Iron Bowl is a huge deal. Right before that, though, another trap game at Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's probably going to be what, 5-win team, 6-win team at that time. So the ones I have circled, health-wise, and then mentals. It's keeping focused on every single game, not letting Missouri or South Carolina or Oklahoma be a trap game for y'all.
You think this is a college football team that can go deep in the playoffs? I mean, do you think this is at this point, yeah, we think it's a playoff team, but do you?
Sure. Well, I mean, let's look at the efficiency that we have right now. Okay, early, right? Very, very early. We have excellent offensive efficiency. We have very, very good defensive efficiency, especially for a new staff. You have a staff that, in my opinion, you have a top 3 head coach in the country. You have an excellent defensive coordinator. You have excellent support staff. You are a top 2 recruiter in the country, high school recruiter all by itself. And then the schedule is hard, but it kind of falls into place in a few spots. In terms of, you get Georgia at home, you get Missouri at home, you get Auburn at home. Some of your tougher games is kind of a mix and match there. So, yeah, it's like I said at the beginning of the season, there's 5 national championships to 10. Alabama's one of them. There's nothing that changes my mind through 3 weeks in terms of that stance.
Dave, give me some college football, just insight when you look at the game of college football outside of Alabama. What grabs your attention from your perspective?
Here's one.
Okay.
Here's one. I love this one. Okay. Here's one, because I generally by nature, my job when I'm working for head coaches and ADs and GMs in the NFL, my biggest job in the data is to be a devil's advocate. Right, is try to find the negative, try to find the downside, try to take what people are saying and look the other way and go, is this really right? 2-point conversions. The 2-point conversion. I hear it on TV when I'm watching on Saturdays, how most announcers think it's a 50-50 proposition. 4 years ago, 2021, conversion rate on going for 2 was 45%. 2022, it was 44%. 2023, It was 39%. We are 3 weeks into the season, arguably the easiest part of schedule to go for 2, and we are at 37%. Every single year now for 4 consecutive years, going for 2 is worse and worse and worse and worse. So when you see this on TV, don't look at it as a coin flip. It is much worse than that. More head coaches lose football games, including Nick Saban, going for 2 and failing than successfully getting it and winning the football game by 1.
Dave, give me some early thoughts on Alabama, Georgia. I know we're a few days away, but when you look at the numbers.
I'm taking Alabama. Okay. I mean, you coaching staff wise, let's just call it a wash. You got really good guys on both sides, right? Probably your 2 best head coaches in college football. I don't, you may not like Kirby Smart, but if Kalen wasn't your choice right now, Kirby's probably your number 2, right? I mean, he would be for me if that was my choice. That would be my number 1 guy. So, coaching staff even, talent even, veteran quarterbacks. You're at home. I think the home field wins this one, and also year to date, I feel that Alabama is playing just a little bit more efficient football than Georgia has so far. So you put I don't even know what the early line is. Is Alabama favored or is it just
small
a pick 'em? Do you have
underdog?
any idea?
Yeah, it's 1.5, 2.5 is the range is where it's at now. And we're still early for the official lines. A lot of these are limited action, so you can bet, but you can't bet as much as what you would be able to game week. So we'll see if this line kind of goes up. But right now, according to the early lines, 1.5 to 2.5, Georgia's the favorite.
Okay, that's cool. I'll take the points. I think it's a wonderful, fascinating matchup. Obviously, maybe a game of the year, especially early on. But because it is in Tuscaloosa, I'll take all the points I can get right now.
Okay. So winning outright, do you like Alabama though?
I do like Alabama to win outright. Both teams coming off a bye. I hate September byes. That's the one thing I would say about this schedule that I don't like. I would rather Alabama playing this week and Georgia next week than having the bye. I'd actually be more confident to have the snap continuity in September than have the break. But since both of them are on a break, we'll call it even there. No, I think I'll take the points, like I said, but I think because it's at home, I'll take Alabama to win that football game.
What do you think about Texas? We're putting a lot of hype here at this number 1 team in the country. You buying?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I am. I'm buying. I bought on it last year. This is the best offensive, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator group in the country. Their weakness is their head coach. He has not proven to push it over the edge. Right? Again, if you're picking sides, if it is Kirby or Kalen versus Sarkisian, you're taking Kirby and Kalen. They've pushed their teams over the edge. They've won the big games. Sark hasn't been able to do that. He's fielded good teams. He had a really good team last year. He has an excellent coaching staff. He has top 5 recruiting. It's all there for him. I think the weak link in Texas is him not being able to get them over the hump. But in terms of Final Four, I mean, outside of Ohio State, I think it's Ohio State and 3 other SEC teams right now.
Yeah, it looks like for me, the way that I judge it around college football is just a jumbled up mess, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it interesting that that even with the transfer portal and NIL, high school recruiting, predicting games just off of high school recruiting has actually gotten better. It's actually been more important. I believe the transfer portal is hurting depth. But I think the guys that are transferring around, I think most of them aren't any good. If you look at the guys that make it to the NFL with a transfer on the resume, most of them are terrible. They're not good players, right? So, to me, I want my coach to be more like Dabo. I'd rather go, I ain't taking a transfer, and I'm going all high school recruiting than going Dion and taking all free agents. So I don't think it's as jumbled as you think it is. But the gears of change go slow at times. So getting it all sorted out might take a little bit, but I think it's a little more together than a lot of people think.
Hey, Dave, go back to CFBmatrix.com. Promote everything that you're involved in as we get just deeper into the college football season. I mean, I only have 2 hours left of the show, so.
Oh no! Well, the thing is I do the radio shows for nothing because I love it. I love coming on and talking football. I don't really, I got a little Patreon account that people can go to. People can follow me on my Twitter account at CFB Matrix. You got a text? Hit me on the text line, 971-217-8419. I love talking college football, but ultimately all of my work comes from the Kalen DeBoers and the GMs in the NFL and the collectives in college football. So any support, just engaging with me is fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, listen, we love college football, and we love to pick your brain here a couple of times a month. So I appreciate you, man. Dave, as always. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Ryan.
CFBmatrix.com. We're going to break here. Dave Bartoo, always fun to visit with him. We'll continue with more of the game next. Pee Wee, Grand Bay, we're coming to you. Tommy, Romulus, next. T-Town, Tide, 100.9, 1230, WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
This hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
Tuscaloosa area realtors and apartment complex owners have mounted an effort called Stop the Big Tax in opposition to next Tuesday's education property tax increase vote. Plans are in the works for former President Donald Trump to attend Alabama's home game with Georgia in 2 weeks, as he did in the Titans game against LSU in 2018. To commemorate Constitution Day, a voter drive is being held at Shelton State main campus 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. The voting drive will be in the atrium of the school.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. Tide 100.9 Traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very happy Tuesday to you. Well, we're not looking too out of shape in the area. We're pretty much, we definitely have our slow rolls in the usual spots, and that's Lurleen Wallace, northbound lanes onto McFarland, east and westbound. You're going to find yourself slowing and going between 43 and Watermelon. 16.
Thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
MedCenterUrgentCare.com. We expect the unexpected. Locations in Tuscaloosa, Northport, North River, right there off Rice Mine Road, Fayette, Demopolis, Hoover. The great doctors, urgent care, family medicine, injuries, occupational health, sports physicals. We do expect the unexpected. MedCenter Urgent
Days a week. Located across from Sokol Park, the venue houses Finney's Pub, the second location of Ramajammers, and Liza's Sweet Shop. Visit VenueTuscaloosa.com to learn more.
Northport Power Equipment, largest inventory Husqvarna dealer in the Southeast. You'll find the Husqvarna models for residential and the professional landscapers, Skag commercial mowers, residential mowers, backpack blowers, handheld blowers, battery-operated tools. The service department at Northport Power Equipment, 2 blocks.
You're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky partly to mostly sunny. The high 87. For tonight, clear with the low at 64. We're dry for the rest of the week. For tomorrow and Thursday, the sky sunny both days. Highs between 86 and 89. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The game with Ryan Fowler. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Do you remember when we fell in love? We were young and innocent then. Do you remember how it all began? It just seemed like heaven, so I did it. Do you remember back in the fall?
I want to remind you, Southern Ale House, 1530 McFarland Boulevard. They've got the newest location, which is Dockside. getting you started like the Dixie fries, the bacon cheese fries. You got great sandwich. You got great specialty biscuits, the burgers, the sandwiches, also the seafood entrees, and always cooking up some good things. The fried shrimp has been very popular up at Dockside. A new thing that they're doing, the fish and taters, the great ribeyes, the barbecue smothered chicken. You could also find the original location, 1530 McFarland Boulevard. Also adding to the daily menu, now you can get the pepper jelly burger every single day, Monday through Saturday, lunch and dinner options. Today I went to Southern Ale House with some friends of mine from Blue Spring Living Water. Cameron and Elizabeth, thank you. They picked up lunch. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Pepper jelly burger was a very big hit. I went with a Jack Daniel's burger minus the peppers. Didn't want to light myself on fire, but the blackened mahi tacos, the yard bird, the buffalo bird, the main plates, including the home-style chicken tenders, the Creole shrimp and grits, a brand new menu where they've tweaked some things, took a couple of things off, but added more things. It is all of that Southern cuisine. Eat Southern, be Southern. Also catering options, 1530 McFarland Boulevard. You never know who you're going to see at Southern Ale House, 1530 McFarland Boulevard, 1530 McFarland Boulevard. You never know. It's almost like, Celebrity City, just a little bit, especially there for lunch. Just look around the room. You never know. Pee-wee, Grand Bay. Pee-wee, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Oh, it's going good, buddy. Just fighting a little cold here. But other than that, I'm doing great, man.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think about Alabama's performance against Wisconsin?
Oh, man, I could not be more happier than the way that the offensive line played, even though they had 2 penalties, false start, and I don't remember what the other one was. But anyhow, they played extremely well. They pass protected very good. They gave Jalen a good pocket. They gave him time back there to go through the progressions that he needed to go through. They opened holes up for running lanes for our running backs, and we got to play a lot of guys. Even Geno and Wilkin came in and played extremely well. Both of them did. Wilkin opened up a big hole on a touchdown run. I was really pleased to see that because we're going to need these guys going down the rest of this season. We just can't make it with the front 5 we got. We got to have some guys that we can put in there to give somebody some breathers and be able to play good football when they're in there. So, if we can play like this every game for the rest of this season, I think that we could be a really, really dangerous football team.
And you heard Tony Franklin earlier talking about, hey, you've only brushed the surface with the capabilities of this offensive direction.
Yes. Like I said, it was hard. How many total penalties was it? Was it just the 2 or was there a third one? I think it was just the 2.
Let me just start with officiating for just a couple of minutes, Pee-wee. It was so refreshing watching the Big Ten officiate a game compared to the SEC. And that hurts. It hurts. It stings when you talk about something they have better than we do.
Right. There wasn't a lot of ticky-tack calls. There wasn't no call like got called against South Carolina that cost them a ball game. I was pleasantly surprised in like the officiating. I thought it was done very well.
And speaking of Kalen DeBoer, just got a brand new football presented by Greg Byrne. I did not realize that he got his 100th win as a head football coach on Saturday. So big win for Kalen DeBoer on the road, and in a big win in more ways than just 42-10.
That's right. I think it sets a tone. The guys came out, really, really excited, very focused, executed extremely well, except for, like I say, a couple times. The only downfall you could say, if you call it that, was there was the one drive that Wisconsin had. But after that, they really didn't do a whole lot. We had a couple of 3 outs and 3 and outs, which, you want to clean those up as well. But, I was extremely pleased at the way that football game was played by our players.
That's a good point. I mean, just overall, this has been fun to watch. It's been fun to see this. And when you praise Kalen DeBoer, doesn't mean you're criticizing Coach Saban. But it is you're seeing it in the players how much fun they're having. And with the current system that we live in currently with college football, this system may match up better with a portal and the portal period and all these different things because you've created a culture. I'm not saying it was missing. It wasn't missing because of Coach Saban. It was missing because of the strength of his assistant coaches.
Right. I mean, you're talking about two completely different coaching styles, but ending up with the same results and the same focus on everything, but you just go about it two different ways. Coach is old school. We know all that. This is the way he's always done it, and it's always worked for him. And there was no reason for him to make an abrupt changes. He did adapt and do things differently over the course of the years, from what he wanted to do. But he didn't make any. He's a very organized gentleman. He works very hard on keeping everything the same so the players know what they're going to do, when they're supposed to do it, how they're supposed to do it. Where this is a little bit different. They practice in the morning now, so they have the rest of the afternoon to go to class or do whatever they need to do. And, the only drag about it for them, I think they have to be up at like either 5:30 or 6 in the morning. They got to be at the facility. So that would be the drag of that part. But, hey, you get used to it.
Well, and Kalen told me back in January, February that they were going to go to this morning team. And I asked him, I said, well, okay, can you explain why? And he said, very simple. It's very simple. He said, it's what the NFL does. And it's one of the reasons why they do it is you practice in the morning. And then what happens is your players go to class, they do things, but then there's time for them to come back and do other things on their own, whether it's just individuals, wide receivers, quarterbacks, doing different fundamentals, go back to the, another workout, weight and conditioning. It's one of those that you offer that incentive. If you have a morning practice, if you have an afternoon practice, players are trying to save for what they think practice is going to be. When you get done and you come off the practice field at 6, then there is no time. You go straight to study hall and you go to bed.
Right, exactly. And, and I think you said something that's a big deal that, I actually think that this group of players this year under Coach DeBoer are really, really having fun with the season the way it is. I think they get along very well. All of them do. It doesn't matter position, offense, defense. I think they all get along very well, and they want to work for each other. The defense wants to give the offense good field position, and the offense wants to thank the defense by scoring on these turnovers and the great field position that they provide. And it gives the defense a sense of recognition too, like, hey, we gave it to them, and they turned and they put it into points. And that's what you're supposed to do. So, like I said, man, I think the camaraderie of this team is in an excellent position.
Yeah. And like I said, I was at the remote yesterday with Ryan Williams and talked to those guys back in what you call, I guess, the green room. It's a room that, it's kind of back in the back. And I'd interviewed Ryan several times coming out of high school. And we just talked briefly. I said, hey, did it meet your expectation? He said it's exceeded. I mean, you think you're committing to this, but once you get here, to be able to see him use the way that he's being used is pretty awesome. And
it is.
I mean, leading in the receiving category. I mean, be honest, Pee Wee, you're from that area. Do you think that he was going to walk in day one, lead the team in receiving yards? Did you think he was going to lead the team in receptions, lead the team in touchdowns by 4 right now going into game number 4, the bye week?
No, honestly, I didn't. I knew that he was super talented, and he had the ability to do great things on a football field. But for him to come in with the maturity that he has and to be able to perform the way that he has, I think is beyond probably anybody's expectations up to this point in time. I mean, the kid is unreal. I know he's been compared to Amari Cooper. He says his favorite player is Devonta Smith. I mean, you can't have a better role model than that guy right there. And I think he's got the speed and the route running abilities just like Devonta did. And if he can perform up to a level that he did, then, oh, my goodness.
That's a good point. Good point. Hey, Pee, we appreciate you, man. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Y'all have a great day.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Pee Wee in Grand Bay. We'll come back. Tommy, get ready. Robert, we'll take you, and we are free the rest of the way home. More Kalen DeBoer audio headed your way in a couple of minutes. T-Town Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Up to $10,000 in finance rates as low as 0%. And we want your trade-in today. Townsend Nissan, your volume dealer. See BJ or Kylan today.
Big Mike's downtown Moundville, only about 15 minutes from where I'm located. Also in Gunnersville, Alabama, Thomasville, Andalusia, Auburn, Alabama, Orange Beach. You'll find one of the best steaks in the state of Alabama, voted by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association and many other great publications recognizing the great ribeye, the seafood entrees. You'll find those. The great
value on trades in Alabama. Julio Jones Kia off Greensboro Ave. Stop in today or visit us online at buyfromjulio.com.
Blue Spring Living Water is located in Bluntsville, Alabama, Blount County, about an hour north of Birmingham. Blue Spring Living Water is harvested and bottled from a centuries-old natural spring on a private family farm. Blue Spring is an all-natural water source that flows just under 1 million gallons a day. They have partnered with Waterway of Alabama, and they've been in the water delivery business for over 30 years. To have Blue Spring Living Water delivered right to your home, right to your front door every month. New customers get their 5 jugs for $50, and the empties are exchanged every month for new ones. I know we have it at the Fowler household. We drink more water because of BlueSpringLivingWater.com. You can sign up at 205-602-3426. Talk to someone directly. Blue Spring Living Water can also be found. Mark Smart.
So you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide football.
Alabama touchdown.
Only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Be the same. 'Cause girl, you came and changed the way I walk, the way I talk. I cannot explain the things I feel for you. But girl, you know
Hey, it's Med Center Urgent Care Family Medicine. No appointment necessary. The super doctors who live and work in our area. MedCenterUrgentCare.com. And Dr. McGee, Dr. Posey, Dr. Lovely saw a need and fulfilled that need with MedCenterUrgentCare.com. MedCenter Urgent Care Family Medicine. You'll find it in the Lowe's Shopping Center here on 69 South. You'll find it in Northport, right past Highway 43 on McFarland Boulevard, North River, right off Rice Mine Road, Hoover off Highway 150, Fayette, Demopolis. You'll find MedCenterUrgentCare.com. We're going to get you back to 100%. Let's continue. Let's continue with more phone calls. We go to Tommy, Romulus. Tommy, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
All is well. How are you, Ron?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Are you?
Yesterday was a great day. We have 2 fine role models that represent the University of Alabama in Jalen Milroe and Hollywood. That young man they are both just really.
Doesn't act like a high school kid, does he?
No, he does not. I'm probably could say this, I'm 34-year-old, don't act like that young man. So, hey, adults, no. So, hey, they both going to be positive role models for the University of Alabama. What else can you say?
Yep, and we'll continue. That's what's pretty special about this program.
That's right. that will be coming to the University of Alabama under Kalen DeBoer. It just seems like I'm a broken record, which I am. But it seems like every week that man, the head coach of Alabama, show us a different side of him. And it's just positive. It's uplifting. It's upbeat.
And we're seeing it from an outsider. Tommy, what do you think they're seeing inside the building?
They've seen greatness. Goodness. A caring coach. I'm not saying Nick Saban would. It's just a different attitude. It's just like we talked yesterday. Between the third and fourth quarter was Wisconsin did a jump around. Alabama football player was doing it too, and they was holding forefinger. And when it was time to go back to play, they got off the field, and they was ready to play. They enjoying each other. They enjoy being a team. And every day go by, I'm probably going to speak too early. This could be a very special team.
Tommy, where did you hear that first at?
What?
That this could be a special team.
I'm saying that.
No, I know. Come on. I got a little bit of credit here, Tommy.
Well, yeah, you get a lot, but
when everybody was talking about 8-4.
Well, yeah, you was. Yeah.
I'm going, guys. You might want to pump the brakes just a little bit with this negative talk. Just a little bit. That this Alabama program, not saying it could take a step up, but I am saying it could take a step up.
Well,
it's just a different approach, and I think the approach matches up with the current direction of college football. You have to create this culture. You have to create this buy-in. And Coach Tony Franklin said this earlier. Screaming and all that, that's good. That's good. There's a time for that. But there's also a time that players have to see a different side. And I thought that was a unique approach.
Well, let's just put it in this aspect of the thing. Kalen DeBoer is 23 years younger than Nick Saban, a quarter of a century. Football have changed when Nick Saban started coaching and when Kalen DeBoer finished playing football. It's just a different. And two, he played at a smaller school. Maybe they said, well, let's have fun because, we're not going to get in the limelight. We're not going to get on national TV. Our football players are not going to win Heisman trophies or, Buckets Award winners. We're going to have fun. We're going to become a team. And we're going to make lifelong friendship. You go looking at the NFL, the NBA, or even Major League Baseball. The people that played on winning teams for 10 years, world champion, and they hate each other guts. After they retire, they don't want to have nothing to do with each other. I think this is a whole different aspect of the game. To build unity, to build continuity, just have a good, positive attitude is going to help you win together, and you're going to pull together. It's not me against the world. We are a team. We win together. We lose together. Very simple, and that's what sports should always been about. When you have success, then the team will have success. If the team has success, you'll have success. It's all in the locking together as a formula to have a championship or winning program. It's a lot
good
simple
stuff
to say than to do. But I know what. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying good stuff, Tommy. Anything else?
Well, I'm going to make comments from people from other shows. Oh, this is going to be a major upset if Alabama beats Georgia. I'm like, Alabama don't have major upset. Alabama is don't fear no one. Remember that. We freaking Alabama, all right? We've been in the big game. We have won 18 freaking national championships, 30 SEC title. I know it's not the 5 o'clock hour. I apologize for taking your thunder, but we've been there. up short sometime. That's all right. But we know.
I still think the pressure's on Georgia.
Oh, I do too. And like Toby said again, the year, it's the number game. Everybody is worrying about depth. Now, and now everybody's talking about offensive line, blah, blah, blah. Well, Georgia have lost a player for at least for about 4 weeks on the offensive line. I know they got 5 stars like we do, but guess what? They haven't got game experience, just like our secondary, and their secondary is pretty young. And I think the three big points of the game for us is, I think our running back room is better than Georgia. They might have Wade's name. I'm not worried about him. Our tight end room is better than Georgia. They don't have Brock Bowers. And their tight end, while I watched Saturday night, didn't block too well. All right? So that's a big concern. I know they're going to play a lot better game when they come to Tuscaloosa. I don't believe that foolishness. They're going to play a better game. And they might be not showing everything, but when you're going to win by 13 or 12, you got to pull something out of the bag in the fourth quarter to win. So, and our receiver room is better than theirs. I really believe that. If I'm biased, so be it. I do have my Clemson colored glasses.
I don't think we've only seen barely the surface of how these wide receivers are going to be used. Hey, Tommy, thanks, man. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great rest of your day, man.
All right. Talk to you later. Take care. Roll Tide.
Yeah, Roll Tide. Robert and Brookwood, we're going to come to you coming up in a couple of minutes. We'll break here. I continue to remind you about Nukes Eatery, 205 University Boulevard, 205-758-2455. Nukes Eatery, 205 University Boulevard, 205-758-2455. The chicken salad, the pimento cheese, the Nukes Q sandwich, which is the #1 sandwich across the franchise. Close enough that you can smell the championships. We've got lines available if you want to jump in, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. Robert and Brookwood, we'll get to you coming up next. T-Town Tide, 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Got a Lulu on University Boulevard on the eastbound hookup to 15th Street. That accident has traffic pretty heavy. Now you've got on and off delays, but the main ones are going to take you back to Ridgewood on University and then Old Birmingham Highway. That has a delay as you try to make your hookup to University.
To $10,000 in finance rates as low as 0%. And we want your trade-in today. Townsend Nissan, your volume dealer. See BJ or Colin today.
Southern Ale House, 1530 McFarland Boulevard. As you know, it's one of my favorite places. Eat Southern, be Southern, the daily lunch and dinner specials, the great menu that features that Southern cuisine, like the bacon wrap meatloaf, the fish and taters, the biscuit sandwiches, the great steaks, the great chicken entrees, great sandwiches, including the pickle burger, the Ale House burger, the yard bird, great desserts, and always that featured bread pudding that Brett Garner's cooking up. Let Southern Ale House cater your special.
Within 30 miles. And if they don't have what you need, they'll get it. Cypress Supply, 2036 62nd Avenue, Tuscaloosa. Cypress-supply.com.
Nukes Eatery, they're on the fringe of the campus of the University of Alabama, close enough that you can smell the championships. The Nukes Q sandwich, still the #1 sandwich across the franchise. The French dip sandwich, I think, is going to challenge for that #1 spot. The double club, the single club, you can pair those up with a great sandwich, salad, California-style pizzas, all available for catering from a group of 5 to 500, a small office party to a large corporate event. Joel Bromfield, they've done a great job for my family. They'll do a great.
Visit us at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Pat's Florist and Gourmet Baskets in downtown Tuscaloosa, 1010 Queen City Avenue. For over 60 years, they've been serving our community. They specialize in a large inventory of fresh flowers, weddings, gourmet fruit baskets. If you're trying to lift someone's spirits, it is Pat's Florist Gourmet Baskets by calling 205-345-5093. Delivery options are available, but it's more than just flowers at Pat's Florist and Gourmet Baskets, 1010 Queen City Avenue.
Easy.
The fresher, the better.
Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Sponsored by Pfizer. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky partly to mostly sunny. The high 87. For tonight, clear with the low at 64. We're dry for the rest of the week. For tomorrow and Thursday, the sky sunny both days. Highs between 86 and 89. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're inside the game on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Robert and Brookwood, but I want to start here with Kalen DeBoer talking about being aggressive right there with 36 seconds to go, and it only took him 27 seconds to score. But Kalen DeBoer was asked about the aggressiveness that you showed right there before halftime, and this is how he responded. Listen to him describe the culture here in Tuscaloosa. Jaisha, no problem. We're good. Let's go to Kalen DeBoer right here. This is his audio being aggressive. Did it work? Nope. Maybe I should have been a little more aggressive. Maybe I should have said, "Here we go. This is Caleb."
36 seconds. You got a field goal kicker you believe in, and I think 3 timeouts if I remember right. So you got a lot working for you. We get any type of gain at all, and we're in bounce. We're gonna use the timeout there and see if we can get a first down or two. And the guys just went out and made a play. Great time in the pocket. I know Jalen, I think, got hit a little bit as he was making the throw, but anticipation, I think you saw, not to break down the play, because I know that's not the question, but I think you saw a trust and anticipation in Jalen on that throw as Ryan is just taking off. The throw is being made. Good read of the defense, and Ryan doing his thing again set us up for another explosive, Germ's the first read on the play. There's other guys that I think were coming into windows that we could have hit as well. But it all started with protection on both those plays. And when you have confidence in the guys up front and protect your quarterback and a quarterback that's going to make smart decisions, I've been overcoaching those probably early on with Jalen to take care of it in this situation or that. The more and more, it's just these little blurps that I'm giving him, and he's on the same page. And so that's part of the progression of us working together more and more, the progression of now you take that to the film room and talk about why we were aggressive in that moment, and then seeing it pay off. It just gives your team a lot of confidence, because the defense knows that anytime, if we just give the ball to the offense, whether it's off a takeaway and we have red zone, or two-minute drill, just a lot of confidence that goes back and forth and playing good team football.
Wow. All right, big comment there from Kalen DeBoer. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. We'll reset the Fox Sports update, giving you the update. Tua Tagovailoa going to the injured reserve. He will miss at least through week 8, or not until week 8. He will be eligible to come off, but they're going to manage the concussion protocol. That was big news. Alabama getting ready for the Georgia Bulldogs. Tony Franklin throwed out some comments about Kirby Smart. If you missed it, we'll talk about it next. T-Town Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Rumsey Environmental, a one-stop shop serving West Alabama for all of your waste removal needs. If you're in the construction business, take a little bit of stress out of your life. The construction debris removal containers customized to fit your job site, the portable toilet service, the storage containers to protect your valuables. It's Rumsey Environmental for that complete waste removal service when you have to.
With all of your CPAP needs, including the new Luna Travel CPAP. Call 339-8013 or stop by Mid-South in the Northbrook Plaza on McFarland Boulevard.
For over 5 years in our community in downtown Northport under that Roll Tide Bridge, Mark's Mark, the home of the chicken swirl. You'll find that since 1978 in Selma, Alabama, for over 5 years in downtown Northport. If you want to dominate the grill today or any day, find Mark's Mark. A great stop by on your way home. If you're preparing for dinner, they've got a lot of those gourmet dishes that you can find, the great casseroles, the dips, the appetizers, the great steaks, the pork chops, the burgers, and all the supplies you need to
buy for dessert. Let's slide over to Checkers for the $5 to $5 deal. Checkers with 2 locations, 15th Street in Tuscaloosa and McFarland Boulevard, Northport. Checkers open late night.
Alabama Credit Union with the official countdown to Alabama Crimson Tide football right here on the game, alabamacu.com. The mobile app saves a lot of time. The mobile deposits, checking, savings, mortgage, home equity loan, financing a vehicle, the great competitive rates. Alabama.
It's the Tide Tailgate Show on 95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230. Roll Tide.
Don Wallace CPA, 527 Main Avenue in downtown Northport. Small business and personal income taxes, payroll, sales tax needs. They can also help you with nonprofit or church accounting or auditing. In business since 1999, they work for you, not the IRS. When you take on taxes, you got to have someone on your side. It's Don Wallace CPA, 205-345-5595, 205-345-5595. Don Wallace CPA, the official accountant of the game.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Dan Byer.
The Miami Dolphins are placing quarterback Tua Tagovailoa on injured reserve because of his concussion. That means Tua will miss at least the next 4 games. Those games are against the Seahawks, Titans, Patriots, and Colts. There's also a bye week sandwiched in between there. The Dolphins made other moves today. In addition to placing Tua on IR, they signed quarterback Tyler Huntley from the Ravens practice squad and released veteran wide receiver Robbie Chosen. The Chiefs are signing free agent running back Kareem Hunt, while Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin says the team is preparing as if Justin Fields will be their starting quarterback this Sunday in their home opener against the Chargers. After missing most of the season with a knee injury, Angels outfielder Mike Trout says he'd consider a move to a corner outfield spot or DH. Trout told reporters on Monday his goal is to be in the batter's box every day next season. Augusta National Golf Club announced an expansion of the broadcast windows for the 2025 Masters, including Saturday's third round coverage starting an hour earlier than 2024's coverage.
Rolling down a backwoods Tennessee byway, one arm on the wheel, holding my lover with the other, a sweet, soft southern thrill. Worked hard all week, got a little jingle on a Tennessee Saturday night. Couldn't feel better, I'm together with my Dixieland tonight. Spend my dollar, park in a holler, neath the mountain moonlight. Hold her up tight, make a little loving, a little turn it oven on a Mason-Dixon night. This my life, oh so right, my Dixieland delight.
All right, let's get them together. You guys ready? Each day at 5 o'clock, we run through the great credentials of the University of Alabama. 18 national titles, 30 SEC titles. 147 first-team All-Americans, 77 postseason appearances, 45 postseason victories, 4 Heisman winners, the NCAA all-time scoring leader, and the greatest football coaches to ever walk the sidelines. We're talking little Alabama Crimson Tide football, and we are powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyland Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. The great dealership right there on Skyland Boulevard. Great interest specials, including the Tacoma 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, 3.99 APR, as low as 3.99 APR, with a $1,500 loyalty cash right back to you. The 2025 Camry, interest rate starting at 3.99 APR. It is Tuscaloosa Toyota. It is TuscaloosaToyota.com. Let's continue to take phone calls, and we go to Robert in Brookwood. Robert, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
How many national championships, brother?
18 national titles, baby.
How many SEC titles?
30 SEC titles. Second place, we've more than doubled them. The second place is Georgia and Tennessee tied at 13.
And everybody likes to say we have all these disputed national championships. Just say for the sake of their argument, you do take away some of those disputed. They probably still got more than everybody else, right?
Yeah, well, take away 5. Just take away 5. We still have more than everybody else.
Notre Dame and USC, I think, has got 8, but I'm sure a couple of theirs are disputed somewhere, too.
Yeah, you go back to 66. That one's probably disputed, too. I mean, for Notre Dame.
State, Notre Dame's famous 10-10 tie.
Yeah, so... When you look at the Crimson Tide, I don't care how you want to argue the credentials. You want to sit here and go, well, they don't have this, they don't have this. The trophy cabinet speaks otherwise. And, for a long time, we didn't even have a trophy cabinet. We had them in a closet in Coleman Coliseum. They went to Nebraska. No, I'm telling you a true story. The ring company, I think is it Jostin or Jostin? I never bought a class ring, so I don't even know. I think it's Jostin or Jostin or something like that. But anyway, they took Coach Mal Moore out to look at Oklahoma's trophy cabinet. And Coach Mal Moore goes out to the trophy cabinet, and they're with a group of athletic directors. They want to showcase what they were able to do and how we're able to showcase the trophies. And there's several athletic directors from different schools, and they flew them out there and said, hey, we want you to look at this. And they did. And they're all talking about, well, how do you guys do them? They look back at Mal Moore, the athletic director of Alabama, and said, hey, how you guys display your trophies at Alabama? He said, we don't. He said, I don't even know where they're at. There was in a closet in Coleman Coliseum. I kid you not.
Well, what year was this?
Probably 7-8 years ago, 9 years ago. Whatever they built the wing of the football.
I think so. We had so many that they just had them in the closet.
Well, so... Everybody else puts their little, Independence Bowl trophies. Like, poor old Auburn. I mean, people may or may not realize they have a museum. What do they put in it? Trees, leaves. I mean, what do they put in it? Hey, this is little Johnny's toilet paper. He threw it the first time. I mean, I don't get it. Where you build a museum when you don't need a museum.
Bowl wins than anybody. More bowl appearances. Is that still?
That's an NCAA record. More bowl appearances, more bowl victories than anybody.
10 or more wins in the history of college football, too. Is that not right?
Yeah, nobody else has more. I mean, if I ran through the actual real credentials like more, I'd be here all 5 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps adding, like the NCAA scoring leader. We added that. I mean, it's pretty unique to have the NCAA all-time scoring leader.
What do you mean, like average of points they score?
Will Reichert broke the all-time NCAA scoring leader.
You talking? Got you.
So it's a record that's pretty awesome.
Should we be worried about this new kicker?
I don't think
we need him in a big game.
Well, kicking for Alabama and kicking for Miami is two different things, but I think he'll be fine. I mean,
it's going to come down to this with the Tennessee game. I know I'm looking ahead. It may come down to the Georgia game, but the Tennessee game ain't got nothing to do with offense. Both teams are going to move up and down the field. It's going to come down to who's got the better defense. And it's going to be very interesting on Saturday night to see Tennessee finally play somebody. And they may win that game, and they probably will, but they ain't going to beat them 70-something to nothing.
Tennessee looks pretty dangerous from here.
Yes, but like Jumbo says, exactly who have they played?
And they go to
the best team they play is the average NC State.
And they go to Oklahoma this weekend, so we're going to find out. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still not convinced that Brent Venables has got it going back in the right direction. I was actually pulling for Oklahoma at number 15 and kind of crash and burn, and then Josh Heupel goes and replaces Brent Venables. It doesn't look like that's the case with a 3-0 start and right now number 15. But there's a lot of losses on that schedule when you look at Oklahoma.
I don't know. If he keeps doing what he's doing at Tennessee, would he leave for Oklahoma? I heard there was some bad blood between him and Oklahoma. Is that true?
There is. Yep. There is some bad blood.
But it's like Mama called, though.
Well,
hard to turn down your alma mater.
It's hard to turn down your alma mater, and money fixes a lot of problems, Robert. A lot of problems.
And you got to think Oklahoma may have a little more money than Tennessee boosters. Don't they have oil money, too, at Oklahoma?
I don't know. I mean, I would probably say it's probably pretty equal. But, you know, you've always got a lot of minglers up in Tennessee, you know, from boosters. I'm sure Oklahoma has their share, but, you know, anytime Philip Fulmer's a part of a program, tells you all you need to know.
That's a good point. Well, real quick before I go, the more I hear people talk, you know, sounds like Alabama might be a better team than Georgia. I'll say this about Kirby, and I don't think you'll disagree. It seems like he builds for these killer defenses. But when's the last time you really know they've had a very, very good quarterback or even just a great receiving core? They may have one every now and then, but not. That's the only thing. Like he plays for these defenses and just hopes his offense gets enough of a run game. And it don't look like he's got much of a run game this year.
Yeah, I mean, when you start looking at the Dogs, and there's two things that Kirby has said in the last 4 to 5 months that really grabbed me. Let's go back to SEC spring meetings, not media days, spring meetings, Sandestin. I was in the room down in Sandestin when he stood up and said, there will be no more undefeated teams in the SEC. And I went, okay. You think that, but you hear it from a coach, it kind of grabs you in a different way. Then we go to about 3 weeks ago, he was doing a post-scrimmage update. This was fall camp when he said, we have the least amount of depth that we've had since I've been here.
Maybe he knows something. Maybe he knows something's coming when he's the coach.
Yeah, that or he could be setting up his fan base.
Or he could be pulling a Barry Bryant every week. They had the worst team ever, and they come out.
Yeah, but his mannerisms, you know, Tony Franklin pointed this out earlier. The screaming and all that. I mean, he kind of looks like, oh, this is going to get me in trouble. He kind of looks like a spastic on the sidelines.
Lord.
I mean, what else can I say? I mean, you help me with a descriptive. But, I mean, he looks like a lunatic. I mean, you ever see him over there?
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like it's like uncontrollable anger. I'm glad somebody...
Well, I've heard people tell me that Kirby has a very foul mouth anyway, so...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, you know, I'm not saying Kirby's a bad guy, but the way that he coaches, does this match up with current college football? I don't know. Did I really say that he looks like a lunatic? Yeah, he does.
He learned from Coach Saban, so...
Yeah, but Coach Saban...
He didn't like a lunatic on the sideline, but still he...
I mean, listen, the crazy part of Kirby is the thing that I used to see on the sidelines, and they had a belt loop. He had a belt loop that on the back of his pants where the coach would have to pull him off of the field. Like there was one coach that his responsibility was to pull him off. Not the get back coach, that was different. Literally, they would take it, they would pull him back. I mean, he coaches, he probably burns more calories coaching than any other coach, but he looks like it's uncontrollable anger. And Tony Franklin said, I don't like the way he coaches quarterbacks.
Well, I'll say this about his quarterback. He's number one in one thing. He is the ugliest quarterback I've ever seen in my life. That young man didn't get hit with a stick. He got hit with a tree. He is an ugly quarterback.
No, it didn't.
And I'm not saying it's not. He is so ugly, man. That dude. And he married him. He's crazy. She married him for NFL money. They'll have a child or two, 10 years. She been to push him run with alimony. That is so ugly. I thought maybe it was just me. I asked my daughter, who's a store. I said, okay, I'll take it.
Well, I haven't really focused a lot on Carson.
Well, he's got that going for him, but Carson Beck is dog ugly, dude.
Jaisha,
can you go look at him now?
Jaisha, you're being a lady, okay? Can you help us? Hold on, Robert. We're gonna call a lady. Where's Cindy in Illinois or some of the other folks that contribute? Jaisha, Robert said Carson Beck is ugly. Would you agree?
Y'all will not catch me on air.
Okay.
Giving my opinion. This because I'm a woman, it will backfire on me in my career later.
Other words, after he graduates, she'll admit he's ugly.
Agree or disagree with
Oh, look at her. Jaisha is stepping completely. All right, Cindy in Illinois, Kit Kat down in Mobile, Karen, somebody's got to chime in. Ooh, I just pulled up Carson Beck. He looks like that guy off Deliverance, where that guy comes off that porch with his ears.
Oh, dear God. Don't make me do my hyena laugh.
Robert, am I not accurate?
Now that you mentioned it, yeah. I never thought of that, but you're right.
He looks like that guy that comes off, hell out of here.
Well, that was based on Georgia, so hey, my guy has something there.
You know what? It could be his relative. Oh, I'm looking right at a photo that even looks. Oh yeah, This is straight off that porch. Mama said people don't come around here often. Where y'all at?
And his first cousin's the one that said squeal like a pig. So
That's right.
Oh God, enough of Carson Beck. God love him.
Oh,
he'll make more than us ever make.
Yes, he will. That's okay. We what they always say.
So right now, before I go, your opinion is right now, if you had to pick, and they were playing this weekend, you'd pick Alabama.
I
beat Georgia.
I would. I think Alabama is the kryptonite. Yeah. I mean, I think mobile quarterbacks are.
Yeah, I ain't seen Beck run too much, but well, I like Alabama's chances, but I'm going to stick with my prediction because I'm not a back. I don't go back on things I've said for several months. I'm going to stick with the Georgia pulling the game, but deep down, you know who I'm rooting for.
If we offered you a mulligan, would you take it?
Nah, I'll stick with it just in case. That way I can at least tell Jumbo I was right about something. Where is my buddy? Is he called today?
Jumbo wore out, out at the autograph signing.
Yeah, he's texted me. He was signing autographs, taking pictures with college girls. I said, oh, he was a wrestler. So I'm proud of him.
Jumbo got out of his car, and I think people like, okay, where's this guy? He come back, and he hollered out, Cousin Jumbo's on the scene or something like that.
Yeah, the heavyweight champion of Tuscaloosa.
Champion of Tuscaloosa. And these people, I guess they believed him because they were out there taking photos of him.
Yeah, he had his moment. I'm proud of him.
Okay, but see, he exerted so much energy in the first 15, 20 minutes that he had to leave early because his knee was hurting. Lord knows the cardiologist that kept him out of the ring. I mean, could you imagine Jumbo going in there and asking him, hey, I just want to do it one more time. And he looks
he's waiting on the micro wrestlers.
Well, that might be.
Because he's got that friend, that female wrestler, Muffy, and I ain't going to say her favorite move, but I'll talk to you later, bro.
What's his favorite move, Robert?
She's got a move called Face Full of Muff. I'll just leave it there.
Help us, Lord. Help us, Lord.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, Jumbo, he was out there signing autographs. He was. Yes, he was. Greg and Alabaster, we will come to you next. We'll take more of your phone calls as we wrap up the last 40 minutes of the show. T-Town, Tide, 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
I was wondering, because the force has got a lot of power and it makes me feel like
Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
Tuscaloosa area realtors and apartment complex owners have mounted an effort called Stop the Big Tax in opposition to next Tuesday's education property tax increase vote. Plans are in the works for former President Donald Trump to attend Alabama's home game with Georgia in 2 weeks, as he did in the Titans game against LSU in 2018. To commemorate Constitution Day, a voting drive is being held at Shelton State main campus 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. The voting drive will be in the atrium of the school.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. Tide 100.9 Traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, hello, fans. Looking here at this accident on the southeast lanes of 2059 between Covered Bridge Road and Demir Benz Boulevard. You do have a fender bender. It's not causing a huge to-do. It's only a tap on the brakes, if that. As you pass by, it looks like they have everything on the shoulder. Now, University...
It's at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
DanielMooreArt.com. Daniel Moore Art celebrates those special moments of Alabama football history, like 4th and 31, Jalen Milroe connected with Isaiah Bond, or the legacy continues with all the great memories of Alabama Crimson Tide football. You can celebrate Coach Saban with a Nick Saban print, the limited edition canvas. You could also find many of the great mini prints. Celebrate that special Alabama fan in your life.
89845. 800-398-9845. That's 800-398-9845.
Dos Amigos, Highway 69 in the new Publix Shopping Center. 11 a.m. opening, 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday closing at 9, Sunday through Thursday. Some great Mexican cuisine, the great fajitas, the great desserts, the great lunch specials. You'll find it at Dos Amigos in the Publix Shopping Center on Highway 69. Takeout orders.
Or find us on Facebook, Andrew Conifer Agency. Once again, you can reach us at 205-722-9201. Allstate, are you in good hands?
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky partly to mostly sunny. The high 87. For tonight, clear with the low at 64. We're dry for the rest of the week. For tomorrow and Thursday, the sky's sunny both days. Highs between 86 and 89. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Light up those phone lines on the game with Ryan Fowler. 205-342-9904. You're inside the game on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
The boy from Deliverance is Billy Ridden, Rayburn County, Georgia. Rayburn, I think it's Rayburn. Maybe it's R, but maybe it's Rayburn. He works at Walmart. You're welcome. John Henney, Anderson, South Carolina. Anderson, okay, thank you. I think I got a message earlier from you. I think, at least maybe I missed it. All right, I appreciate you guys. Man, you guys are educating me here. Okay. Look here, Fowler. Looks ain't everything. Look at Peyton Manning. He was one of the ugly, I can't say that, but one of the best quarterbacks ever. Oh, Bama Nick's sucking up to the Georgia fans. You see what Bama Nick's doing? I'm telling you, I think Georgia's his second favorite team. He just will not admit it on the air. That's what it sounds like to me. Okay. All right. Greg, Alabaster. Greg, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Good afternoon, Ron. How are you?
I've just got something that I said in my head, and I'm now Googling photos of Carson Beck, and I'm just more confirmed what I said. I mean, he looks identical to the guy off Deliverance.
So going back to Jumbo, do you think we could turn around and do a GoFundMe or a PayPal account or anything, to see if Jumbo could suck it up one more time and get buffed?
Say it one more time.
Do you think we could raise enough money to get Jumbo where he could suck it up to get into the ring?
No,
one more time.
No, because there's not a physician in the world that would sign off on the medical waiver. Jumbo couldn't even hang out at the remote. He could not even hang out at the remote for length of time. 2 hours in, he was getting in his truck. He said, man, I got to go home. Man, my knee's killing me. I was like, you got out there showing your butt. The mind is a powerful tool.
One last ride.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
even to be mugged.
You better have a emergency medical team and a cardiologist on the side of the boxing ring. Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, if that was arranged, I could see where he would suck it up to probably do that.
Well, he goes up to the little people up in Pigeon Forge. He enjoys that. That's his thing. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't get that image out of my head.
I'm trying to sidestep this in any way I can, so I keep trying to direct you in the color, but you keep bringing it up. Let's get to Wisconsin. Forget about WWF and WCW. I mean,
yeah. So, all right. So, where do you want to go with
no, it's your choice. It's your choice. Yeah, totally.
I think there was a lot to be pleased with. I think you saw a more complicated route running, combo routes that was designed to open up lanes from the zone that Wisconsin was going to run. Because if you go back, every one of the big plays, go back and look how each route had to be run a certain way, and it pulled a safety down. It pulled a safety over. It forced a safety to shade one side, which allowed with the motion to turn around and open it up completely. I think that was one of the best receiving game plans I have seen in a very long time from Alabama. You go to the execution of it, and it wasn't just the route running. We go back and look at the blocking. I mean, they got in people's face and drove them. I mean, that it's been a while since we've really seen that kind of attitude consistently all across the board. You go back and look at the offensive linemen. They wasn't on the wrong foot. They wasn't punching with the wrong hand. They kept their feet squared up. I think there was a lot of grounds for everybody to be excited. Now, I think this is going to, it's going to be a different level of talent, in a couple of weeks. But what you said, Alabama is Georgia's kryptonite. With explosive plays and a quarterback that can deliver the ball and get explosive plays, they will expose what Kirby is. What was Nick Saban's biggest downfall as an offensive coach?
Not playing enough people.
One more thing. You've kind of hit on it before, but one more thing. I won't tag with it.
Was his weaknesses on the offensive side of the football? Being conservative?
Yep. One thing, very true right there. Kirby will be very conservative at times, won't he?
He will. Yeah.
He wants to depend on his defense. He wants the game to be, drawn out, make it a slugfest. He doesn't want to track meet. He wants to control the pace of the game. And when he's not able to control the pace of the game, what happens?
It's a good point. Good point. Go back to the second half. The first half going into late in the second quarter. What would Nick Saban have done?
Oh, he took a knee or just run the ball right up the gut and just sat on it. Even sitting on 3 timeouts.
And Kalen DeBoer was asked about it, and he said, we're going to be aggressive. That's who we are. And you're looking at defensive coordinators that go, oh, crap. No way.
Right. Because they can't go out there and play, and they can't play base or vanilla because they don't know what's coming.
And I'm sure Wisconsin probably thought, they're going to the locker room. They'll go 14-3, take that. No, they're going to push it down the field.
Exactly. I mean, I was somewhat surprised, but I was glad to see it. But I mean, go back if anybody has a chance, go back and watch that combo route that they ran. The underneath receiver turned around and went up, basically ran a 15 square in, and it pulled the safety over. The safety that came across the top that was supposed to cover, the safety that sunk back, that would have been in the hole where Ron Williams was at. That motion of the inside receiver pulled him over, and as soon as he took one step, look how big of a pocket that opened for us to throw into. That was not a small window. That made a huge window about 20 yards downfield. All you had to do was get the ball there. We minimum had a 30-yard gain. The route running that we have developed opened those holes. Go back to when Jeremy Gerard, when he on his touchdown, watch how the motion and how every route pulled everybody away except for the corner that basically had to run all the way across the field at a bad angle, making the over-the-shoulder catch as easy as could be. Because he let them get to the outside shoulder. Once he got to the outside shoulder, there is no defending that other than tackling. That is something we have lacked offensively. You go back to, J-Mo. The thing that made those routes work so well was he was just so fast. I mean, nobody could really gauge how fast he really was, and they would think they'd have an angle and think they'd be on top of him, and he'd turn around and change the angle, and it was gone. I mean, that wasn't necessarily the route running. That was just his flat-out speed of catching them, trying to, inside-out coverage, and him outrunning the coverage. It's something we have not had since probably Tua's last year. Sark did a little bit of it, but the coverage we've got or the routes we have now is daylight and dark difference.
Good point, man. I mean, listen, go back if you we don't replay a lot of interviews here. I know some people choose to, but we just don't have time. Tony Franklin, if you get a chance, Tide109.com, go to the SoundCloud page or go to the podcast page that we archive. Go back and listen to Tony Franklin at 3:30 and listen to him talk about Kalen DeBoer's offensive schemes.
It's beautiful. And everybody thinks this is this big hurry up, rush plays. Go look how many plays we're playing. We're not actually running that many plays offensively every game. We are very efficient with what we do. Very efficient. Now, the one thing I do, and we've not had to have it, but against Georgia, I do firmly believe we're going to have at least 2 sustained drives. Not explosive plays, but sustained drives where we get 30 or 40 yards, flip the field, score, something along those lines where we've got to be able to hold the ball and get, some consecutive first downs. That's the one thing this offense has not done consistently yet, but we haven't had to either.
And I think that's probably where they're holding back just a little bit. Hey, Greg, appreciate you, man. I got to get to this break. Great stuff, man.
Yep.
Thank you.
Roll time, my brother.
Hey, right back to you. Greg and Alabaster, I want to remind you about Northport Power Equipment. I'm sure there's still yard debris out there. Leaves are beginning to fall here in West Alabama. Plus, you've got moisture, and we've still got heat, grass growing season, still not even nowhere near close to the end, as much as we would probably like it to be. You can find the Skag commercial mowers, the residential mowers, the Husqvarna residential and the commercial. When you think about the service department, check those guys out. The end of the season savings, but also whether you're talking about a chainsaw or a pole saw or the backpack blowers, the handheld blowers, the battery-operated tools, the weed trimmers, all the supplies you need. It's Northport Power Equipment, 2 blocks east of the Northport Civic Center. Brighton Keith Ellis, Mr. Ellis, since 1996, established right here in Tuscaloosa, Northport, Tuscaloosa County, but Northport is home of Northport Power Equipment. Go see our friends right there. Tell them the game sent you. And, hey, check out some of the great tools that they've got. Crest battery-operated tools as well, Husqvarna battery-operated tools, Leaf falling here in West Alabama. Good way to clean those up. Let's continue with more of the game. We'll come back. We'll take those. More Kalen DeBoer audio headed your way in a couple of minutes. T-Town, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Mates up to $10,000 in finance rates as low as 0%. And we want your trade-in today. Townsend Nissan, your volume dealer. See BJ or Colin today.
Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Call Paul at 205-331-6823. Custom curbing for your home or business. Do away with those plastic individual stone borders. Go for that more permanent decorative concrete border. No more grass growing between those individual stones. Cleaner to edge to maintain. They're willing to travel, not just here in Tuscaloosa, but also in our neighboring states as well over in Mississippi. Many colors and choices. They'll customize for that individual taste and house. Give them a call at 205-331-6823. You could also go to their Facebook account. Find their page. You can see exactly what the videos. They came out, did a free quote. Paul gave me an evaluation. Give them a call, 205-331-6823.
It's available with approved credit. PTG Outdoors open Monday through Friday, 8 until 5 in the old L&L Marine location in Northport. Call 333-1605.
The Pharmacy at Midtown with TJ Thomas, 205-752-0627. PharmacyMidtown.com. Don't forget about the retail side of the Pharmacy at Midtown. It's an independent-owned pharmacy specializing in walk-in prescriptions, medicine on time packaging.
Double whammy, basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Tide 100.9. For more coverage of Alabama football, visit us at Tide100.9.com or download the free Tide 100.9 app.
The Crimson Tide will not be denied.
Close your eyes, let that rhythm get into you. Don't try to fight it, there ain't nothing that you
Aisha, you've been in a kind of soul music. You've been borrowing from our sister station over there, 92.9. I like it. It's good. It's kind of, I feel like I got to get up and dance a little bit here. Nobody wants to see that, at least not on the video side of things. But let's go back to Kalen DeBoer talking about Jalen Milroe and the confidence that he has seen him take this big next step on the pre-snaps. Jalen Milroe talking about, Kalen DeBoer talking about Jalen Milroe's pre-snap reads. Here it is. All right, we'll work it right here. Here we go.
Good question. That I'm trying to think through. I feel like there was, I think you get into the situations, probably the latter down at distances, third downs, when you see, the pressures, and I think he did a really solid job. There was one time, and it wouldn't fall necessarily on his lap, where there was a little bit of miscommunication across the board, or it didn't happen as fluid as smooth as you would like. I think we got to the point where we needed to by the time the ball was snapped, but just everyone being on the same page. And that's not just the offensive line and him, that's everyone, and so we could have done a better job across the board. But in regards to Jalen, we are continuing to ask more and more of him as he gets more comfortable with what we do. And we know that is going to need to be the case, where he has full reign right now. He knows what the expectations are and what we really prefer him to be doing with the checks. And he's been really solid. And for us going into SEC play, we know that for sure.
All right, so there's the conversation with Kalen DeBoer talking about Jalen Milroe, and also earlier, Tony Franklin had a lot of praise for the starting quarterback at the University of Alabama. We've always got a lot of praise for Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. We were just talking about a couple of minutes ago, this time of the year, maybe it's cooled down, some of those outside projects. Do away with that plastic individual stone borders for a more permanent decorative concrete border. No more grass growing between those individual stones. Cleaner edge to maintain. It is Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing and willing to travel. It's a natural stone. but it's a continuous run of concrete. Looks identical to natural stone. We did this a couple of months ago. Hey, I never missed those plastic borders because you'd hit them with a lawnmower. They'd move out. All your mulch would go on the sidewalk. No more of that. Many colors and choices customized to fit your taste and your home. It is. Call Paul at Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, 205-331-6823, 205-331-6823. Go to their Facebook page. It is Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. We'll continue with more. Corey, get ready. We're going to come to you next. T-Town, Tide, 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center heading over east in Vance. Watch out for this fender bender on 2059 southeast lanes. And this is right in between Demir Benz Boulevard and Covered Bridge Road. No delays whatsoever. I'm not seeing any slow goes. It is on the way out of there. Now, where you definitely have your hands full, 359 southbound.
.com or call 205-810-8888. The all-new Child's Country Buffet opening soon on Skyland Boulevard. Join us for a meal to remember.
It's the longest running sports show in Tuscaloosa. You're listening to The Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9.
We welcome you right back into the game here in Tuscaloosa. Tide at 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Let's go to Corey in Trussville. Corey, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well, man.
Hey, Ryan. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm good. I hope you are as well.
I'm doing great. You know, I don't know if you remember this, but we've had some very good freshman receivers have really good games against Georgia. You've had Julio Jones have 5 catches, 94 yards and a touchdown in the blackout game. You've had Amari Cooper, 8 catches, 128 yards and a touchdown in the SEC championship. Calvin Ridley, 5 catches, 120 yards and a touchdown, 2015. Devontae Smith, 1 catch, 41 yards, 1 touchdown, the second and 26 play. And Jalen Waddle, 4 catches, 113 yards and a touchdown in 2018, which was the 2018 SEC championship. And my point is, could Ryan Williams be looking at another great performance against Georgia?
Good question. Good question. I don't know. I mean, I guess we could see that. Ryan Williams is probably going to be used, and I think we've only seen just a little piece of how he is going to be used. We saw him on Saturday get slid in against a safety. That's a mismatch that will favor the Crimson Tide all day, every day.
Do you feel like, now this may be hard to answer, because like you could look at it both ways, but do you think there's more pressure riding on the game for Georgia because Georgia's supposed to win this?
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, we have been saying it last couple of weeks. Yes, absolutely. Not even close.
But would it be a failure on Alabama's part if they don't win? Because, well, when I say failure, I'm not saying you don't come out and play reckless. I'm saying you come out and you feel like, as an Alabama fan, you feel like you should have a good chance to win this game because you're at home. And if the shoe was on the other foot, then there wouldn't be any Georgia fatigue. Like if Georgia had the dynasty Alabama had under Saban, there would not be this Alabama fatigue. Because I guarantee you, every analyst wants to see Alabama lose this game. But if the shoe was on the other foot, everybody would want to pick Georgia to win this game if Georgia had the dynasty Alabama had. So everybody wants to see Alabama fail because of the jealousy component Alabama is. That is Alabama football, because no other program has the credentials that Alabama has. Am I right about that?
Oh, there's not close. I mean, there's no comparison.
But I feel real confident about this game. I know we're another week away.
Corey feeling confident? Oh, my Lord. Can we call this confident Corey instead of cardiac Corey?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Well, 2 reasons. One, what Kalen DeBoer did in the first half and the second half showed me a lot that Kalen DeBoer is willing to not take his foot off the gas.
Yeah, true.
Now, I know.
I got to get to our final caller right here, so I'm going to give you just about a few more seconds.
No, he's not going to take his foot off the gas. And also, I think that Alabama is going to be well prepared. And like you said, I think they're going to unveil some things that they haven't showed yet.
Cool. Roll Tide. Thank you, Corey.
Roll Tide, Ryan.
Roll Tide. Final 2 minutes belongs to the last duck through the hole. Ellis, Manchester, Tennessee. Ellis, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Robert had it going on today, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he did. Sometimes you just got to step away from the mic and let it control itself.
Let it control itself. That's right. Like you had a good time. Look, there's a lot of people there yesterday.
A ton.
Alabama fans, of course.
Oh, yeah. Alabama fans showed up and showed out, man. It was a big event.
Ryan, I have no concerns about Georgia.
I don't think we should. I mean, Vegas.
They got a defense, yeah, but they don't have an offense.
And we'll see. I still think there's some. We're going to be okay.
Oh, I think we are too. Got the big president. Got President Trump coming in. That makes the second time I've been there with him there.
You going to be hanging out in his box? Is that your part of your plan?
Yeah, that's why I'm fixing to get some real nice clothes, and I got my hair cut today.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you and that lady friend that you've got is going to be in the box. That's
yeah.
I mean, any way that you can get your favorite radio host in the box too. I mean,
sure.
Okay.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay. Well, tell you what, it pays to have good friends. I got to get out of here, Ellis. Jaisha just gave me the message. I got 30 seconds. I got to run, man. Appreciate you.
Roll Tide, Ryan Fowler.
Roll Tide. BMW Tuscaloosa football is here, and the amazing savings. For every point the Crimson Tide scores, score $50. Save $50 on a new BMW all week long. You heard me, $50 a point. Cheer on the Tide, then drive into BMW Tuscaloosa. Score big savings. Visit us, 3537 Scotland Boulevard, or online at BMW Tuscaloosa. BMW Tuscaloosa, take your dreams for a drive. I remind you that we call this program The Game, and the only way that you can win a big game, the game of life, is to walk daily with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Good night, T-Town. See you tomorrow, too.
You can understand my dream. Yeah, I could be anywhere, and you could be there with me.
Thank you for listening to The Game